It is time, everyone, to get deep in Destiny 2, Alex O'Neill.
Pregnant
everybody.
I love it. Hello.
Hello. We are here. It is another episode of Helm, Two Tower, the podcast. I do, Mike Burgess. Hello, I'm Mike Burgess, and Alex O'Neill, my co-host. We do here on youtube.com/Helm to Tower. We're a part of a bigger site called Irrational Passions. You can check out irrationalpassions.com for written stuff and youtube.com/irrationalpassions for video stuff and all kinds of other things like that as well.
Non-Destiny video.
Non-Destiny stuff is all there, which there's been a lot of good stuff there recently. But we're not here to talk about that too much. We're at least here to talk about it and plug it because, that's what we got to do to get somewhere in the biz or whatever the hell they do these days or whatever.
Check out my 4,200 word Destiny 2 Lightfall review, please.
Yes,
I worked so hard on it.
I worked months on this. We got a lot of words to talk about today. On top of that, those 4,200 words, because it is the first week of May here in the world and all that, and that means we are only a few weeks away from a new season of Destiny 2, that is Season of the Deep, and just recently this past week, Bungie has given us two massive blog posts, as they do usually as we get closer to season, to give us kind of a lowdown on what is to come in the new seasons and all that stuff. And this week we got a massive blog first about the bunch of ability tunings across the board. And they basically pulled an Oprah Winfrey and went like, hey, you have a damage super? Guess what? It does more damage now, baby. And that one too, and that one too. Pretty much everything like damage super wise got a buff in this, and even like non-damage supers got a little bit of a buff as well in this. We'll talk about that stuff for sure. And then we also got the weekly blog. They always do This Week at Bungie, the TWAB, on Thursdays. They did another blog there as well, which had a ton more information, even more information somehow. They always do that. They always somehow pull out even more information. It's wild sometimes. But we got details about the new aspects that are coming for Strand. They detailed them there. That's pretty exciting. We got a really cool kind of teaser header image for the Season of the Deep, to kind of give us the set the tone, as it were. And there's tons of cool little details that we're going to talk about in that image for sure. There's also plenty of other updates, quality of life updates, interesting pricing decision updates with some stuff, some trials updates, which we'll briefly touch on, but admittedly there's just so much to talk about here. We'll hopefully try and cover as much as we can.
And Guardian Games is happening.
And of course, in the actual game, there is Guardian Games, which we've both been playing. So let's just start with that. We'll try and be quick about what we've been kind of doing in game wise, for sure. But I will say I've definitely been in. I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but definitely in the cleanup mode. Feeling like I'm back in my college days or even high school days, like cramming as much stuff in to get done before a non-Destiny related thing comes out, which is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which we're both very excited for. Want to kind of clear the way so I have a good amount of time to play that. And
same.
Maybe have it finished before the new season, maybe not, probably not, just because it's they're close enough, and Zelda seems to be a very massive game that I want to spend a lot of time in. So maybe miss some of the early seasonal bits, unfortunately, for this upcoming season, but it does look really cool. But regardless of that aside, playing a bunch of Guardian games this week alone. I finished my Gilded Conqueror. So Gilded Conqueror 8, I did the last two Grandmasters, which for me were, which actually was just one. It was just the heist, Mars Battleground. Definitely a pain in the ass, I will say. It was not as bad as I thought it would be. Ultimately, it is really just, because there is a very cheesable thing you can do for the boss room. It really is just like the slog to get there. And like really it'll probably be better over time because it'll just be a thing where like, all right, once I kind of know better where all the ads are spawning and like kind of know where to like kind of, you know, positioning myself around that, because we were fortunate enough to, like, me and the two clan buddies I did it with were, you know, they're my usual kind of grandmaster running group besides the group in our Twitter DM thread. They're like a pretty constant grandmaster too, and they're up there with me with in terms of guild and conqueror. So we're pretty competent enough to like run grandmasters. So we were actually ultimately able to do it on our first try.
Nice.
But that was just because we kind of, you know, were able to kind of suffer through a lot of the early bits and made it to the boss room. And honestly, as long as you can make it to the boss room in that, you're pretty much free to complete it, because the boss is just so kind of cheesable in that regards. I would not be surprised if that changes in the future, whenever this does come back in rotation, if they fix that cheese or whatever. Because basically all it is in the corners of the arena, there's like these like towers, and you can essentially like jump up to this little like kind of corners in the towers, and if you lure the boss over to one of those, he will just stand underneath it and just not be able to do a single thing. He just hangs out there, and you can like just sit there and just shoot. He hits his first half and like puts his shield up. You then go dunk the balls. You then just bring him back to that point. He'll just stand there and you just shoot him in the head. And just wear him down, and then you're done. And
it's
like
the dunking the balls part that scares me, though. I will say
it is treacherous, but like we had a pretty good system of just, you know, one person stayed in the corner, which ended up being me because I was the well warlock. We had an Invis Hunter and a Strand Titan. So we basically, the Invis Hunter was doing the running, and then the Strand Titan just kind of assisted with champions or like, you know, priority kind of targets. And, you know, they kind of did it pretty smoothly, all things considered. So it seems like more manageable than I think it, but it really just felt to me like it really is just like, I'll probably be a couple more runs before I feel comfortable doing the parts before that, because those parts are pretty tense and intense, and can be like pretty rough. Just the amount of ads you have to try and manage and combat in some of those sequences is pretty crazy. And like learning the little intricacies of that, of like, okay, it was hard to tell when, you know, there's some of the hive that like spawn and like go up to the thing and disrupt like the timer thing. Like when that's happening, it seems like endless waves of dudes. So we were just trying to like take down as many enemies and survive, while also trying to get those dudes who were just like hanging out there and holding out the timer. Like it just made it really hard to kind of manage all that at once. But we did it, got it through. I don't have to think about doing Mars Heist Battleground for who knows how long, hopefully.
You don't have to think about GMs for a hot minute, so that's nice.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely curious what next seasons are, but like, yeah, it'll be a while before we have to do that again. I always like the nice kind of reprieve. Once you get them done, you're done for a bit, and then you can just, you know, back on the treadmill. And it's nice to also know that, like, you know, I am already kind of ready for the next GMs.
Yep.
Because we don't have a power increase next season, which is really, really nice. Other than that, yeah, Guardian Games is fine this year. It's pretty much the same as it was last year, right? Like, it's kind of fine. I just kind of burned through all of it so I could get it done and get the title. I got the champ title, and that also got me the Reveler title as well, because I did all the titles for all the events over the course of the year. So that's cool and fun. But yeah, admittedly, nothing kind of really has blown me away with Guardian Games this year. It felt pretty much all the same, just kind of doing the special strikes. I know Supremacy is in, and like, so as a game mode, it's completely fine. I remember playing it back from this, and I think it's like there's a little bit. It's fine. It still kind of feels like Destiny PvP to me, which is not my favorite thing in the world. I just kind of do it because it's there, and you know, the game usually asks me of it, so I'll just do it. It didn't really blow me away. I know a lot of people seem stoked because it went back to being connection based matchmaking. I will say like that's I'm happy for those folks, but for me, didn't feel like it was that fun to me. I think there was just and granted, some of this had to do with how they set it up, where like it is supposed to be like for the Guardian games in particular, it is like team versus a team, where it is like 6 warlocks. It's supposed to be 6 warlocks versus 6 whoever, or 6 teams and teams. But a lot of times I just had matches where they were uneven because I would be like a warlock. And I'd match in, and I would be on a team of like 4 or 5 warlocks, and then there'd be like a full team of hunters, and we'd be immediately just like out manned. I had a lot of matches like that. I feel like I had more like that than I had that, just because I guess the matchmaking was just not pulling a full team together.
You can opt out of the Guardians game matchmaking, which is nice. Which is what I've been doing for the most part, because you'll still get like the like platinum card progress on regular supremacy. Cool. So nice. if you do have to do some of it for, I think, one of the triumphs for champ, sure. Some of the competitive playlists, but I think that might also count the Nightfall competitive playlist. So
yeah. And that's largely ultimately what I did is like once I think pretty much early on realized is like, oh yeah, I think the people who are like super into PvP in this game, I've realized like how they set up this thing, and this lets them have the all freedom loose, and what they actually want or whatever, because it's the point they don't want to talk about, but it absolutely is a talking point of like they just want to be able to have their moment to like shred and stomp on people who they're better than, because they play a lot of PvP, and like, hey, that's fine, that's what PvP is for. That's your thing, but like ultimately, like Destiny is not solely a PvP game, so like it is a mixed bag. So like it has to find the middle ground for people like me who just want to be there to like check the box and go back to the actual game I like playing. So like we both have to deal with that. Both those sides is ultimately how I always feel about that stuff. Of like, I've accepted it, they need to accept that like hey, they're to keep people like me interested and maybe engaged in other modes in this game, they have to make the safe zones, however they want to call it, baby zone. I'd be fine. I don't give a hell if they call it baby zone. I will have a much more enjoyable time in those kind of matchmaking parameters, because it makes it like a more casual experience, and I can just kind of do the thing to check the box, which is ultimately what I'm there for, rather than just like have to play this person who has like gilded flawless 6 and an ascendant like new emblem that they put out like a week ago, and they already have it because they're like ascendant or whatever in competitive, and want to just be this crazy PvP god and like using this crazy stupid annoying loadout that they find fun, and that's like their fun from them, and that's cool. Like that's ultimately like I know I sound complaining, but like ultimately I do appreciate the aspect of Destiny that is just like it can be a different thing for a lot of people. And like obviously those different things can combat each other and enjoyment for other people, but hey, I think that's how they have to harmonize that stuff, and it's always, I'm sure, always a very much challenge to like find that balance for Bungie after all these years, for sure. But it's fine. At the end of the day, I'm done with. I got the champ title. I don't have to touch that playlist anymore till they put it in the game somewhere else or something one day. Even then, I probably won't even have to play it if I don't want to. So it's not a big deal at the end of the day. Scout rifle that is new for Guardian games. It didn't really wow me, to be honest. It's cool that it's a strand one. It doesn't feel bad, but ultimately I think it's always sometimes what happens with a lot of these event ones where it's like it is kind of like the simplest way to put it is like this really just comes out of it is we have hung jury at home vibes. Because like I have a bunch of really awesome adept hung jury rolls from over doing so many GMs over the years that like I have ones that I already really like. So I just threw this on and I was like, well, this just feels like a worse version of a gun I already have, but it's shooting green. That's cool. Okay. It's just kind of, I tried it a couple times and went like, I'm good. And then, just pulled out scout rifles I liked a little bit more handling wise and playing with wise. So, that's cool. It's, that's usually how events go sometimes. So, But how's your Guardian games been so far?
I don't know if it's like Star Wars that I've been playing, Jedi Survivor, or if it's like the idea that Zelda is about to eat my life, and it's like all consuming to my brain. I can't turn it off at this point. We've talked about on Nintendo Land of how like I just have to forget that this game exists, and I'm able to do that. But like once we're 6 days away at time of recording this,
you can't not think about it.
It's just so hard to not think about it.
Yeah.
I've just been kicking my feet about grinding. I've been having not a great time grinding stuff. Maybe, and it's also like I'm excited for Tuesday to come around and the Guardian Games Nightfall to rotate. I like Hypernet Current. I think it's fun. It's just harder to get a platinum score on that one. Right. So like I remember I did almost all of my last year Guardian Games grinding when Lightblade was the Nightfall, because it was like not too hard, where Lightblade can get too hard very quickly. So it was fun to kind of cruise through that. It's real easy to get a good score in Lightblade because there's just so much stuff going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where this one, I got platinum once, which you need to do it per week to get the podium thing. And I got flawless once, which you need for one of the Gilded Triumphs. And it's like run gold. I have to do 2 runs to get the platinum card done.
And you're like fighting people because it's like, please let me finish the champion.
Yeah,
or let me do my emote,
and then
please let me do one.
Champion.
And they're just like, and like people don't, most average people just don't know. They just want to
And I've been like exclusively playing that playlist with like Guardian rank 6, and I'm not like trashing that. It's just like I assume they're like, the event's up.
The tens are talking here, right?
The tens are talking. They're coming back for the event. It's right. End of season, perfect time to come clean up all the challenges. I still have like 20 challenges that I have to do, and I don't have Queen's Guard yet, which I normally
I don't have it either. So.
Which I might wait, like you said, because the whole goddamn legendary exotic mission, which we've been harping on for like 3 weeks now. I feel like you and I have both been like, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. Don't make me do it 3 times, please.
Yeah, please. I don't want to. It's just too much.
So I've been like kind of just trying to level up some weapons, which has been going good. You get a lot of XP during the event, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like kicking my feet. I'm like super close. Right after we finish this podcast, I'm like order food and basically try and finish everything Destiny that I need to do.
Yeah.
I do want to get to Guardian rank 10, which just means I have to run a GM. Basically I have to do a GM with one of the darkness subclasses, which I feel like won't be too bad. I could just do like Glassway with Strand, and I think I'd be fine.
Glassway is this week's, the upcoming week's Nightfall. It is also bonus Vanguard rewards, and Buzzard is the weapon. So,
and Buzzard, yeah. So it's kind of
I definitely was gonna probably at least get 1 or 2 runs in this week. That was gonna be like one extra little thing I did.
Yeah, and then I do that. I just need a 180 score, which on a GM you just get for sure. So
it's pretty easy.
Do that, and then I hit rank 10, and then I'm done. I'm good. I think in theory, I don't know what the rank 11 trumps. I think in theory, I just have to guild conquer because I've done the master raid and I've done a dungeon solo. I've done Spire solo already.
Yeah.
So it's I might in theory just.
It's a guild conqueror, and it's a certain. You have to hit a certain. You have to do a commendation score thing as well. Those are like the 2 big things. Besides those are, but that's not. I'm
not too worried about that. Yeah, but I don't want to do all the GMs. I really don't want to do the Mars Battleground, because when I got to rank 9, I did that one on Master with some like LFG folks, and it sucked. 4 times in the boss room. Again, not doing any cheese or anything, just doing it legit. 4 times did we have like the countdown of respawn, and somebody respawned at the last second just to keep us alive.
Oh god.
4 times, and I was like, I don't want to do this GM ever in my life.
Yep.
Just as talked about before, like I like GMs. I think they're fun every now and again. Just kind of do 1 or 2 a season, and I'm good with that. I don't need to do all 6 or whatever. And the fact that more activities in the game feel to me like GMs is like killing me a little bit. It's just draining my soul. Just very tiring. So yeah, I'm just kind of kicking my feet at this point. I really hope I can get through. I know I'll get the Guardian game stuff done, but I don't know if I'll get like all the seasonal challenges and stuff done. I hope I do. I would like to, but I'm just like
4K bright dust. I did that today.
I would like it. Yeah, I would very much like that because I had none until the event started. I've been accumulating. I'm back up to 1,500, but I'm feeling the Destiny fatigue hard.
I totally get that too. Just because it's also a thing where like I think just because of I think some of it is the combination of us playing so much was also a part of like the freaking pandemic that happened, and that's there were a lot less games coming out, and I think there definitely were games that came out for sure, but I think like just more recently, like I think we're in a particular moment where like there's just like banger after banger like coming out in the next like after all this time where it's just like we have Star Wars Jedi, Zelda in days, and then like in June we're
Final
gonna have
Fantasy 16.
We're gonna have Final Fantasy 16 and like
which looks incredible.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for that as well. Like
and Street Fighter 6,
and
like one other thing I think.
Yeah, I think there's something else we're forgetting about as well. But it's just like like there's a lot of other games that are like especially Zelda in particular is like that's one that comes along very rarely these days. So that's definitely been that's why I said I'm treating this as homework, is just like as just cramming it in. Like that's I love playing Destiny, and I am stoked about the season. We're gonna talk about the season.
Yeah, for sure.
The seasonal stuff that we learned about in the TWAB and it's like here, but like
I'm looking forward to
there'll be a time where I'm going to put probably hundreds of hours into Tears of the Kingdom, but there'll be a moment where I finish that game and I know I'll be like Destiny,
exactly.
Come back and have that like moment where I can jump back in and see a bunch of new Destiny stuff. Like that's like a cool that that's cool in a way that's cool that like both of these are kind of in that same time frame, because there will be new stuff for like both franchises and series I really love.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to like the weekly check-in again of like just play an hour on Tuesday, catch up with what's going on, and then check out, and that's totally cool with me. I'm totally fine with that. Like I know some people are like, well, you're not playing enough. It's fine. It's okay to take breaks. Everyone should take breaks from Destiny.
Yes.
And I've been on a pretty big break throughout most of April. I was kind of not playing except for the Master Raid stuff. So yeah, coming back and you come back and it's not like new shit. It's just like I'm doing all the shit that I was already doing. Yep. And I don't have any goddamn Neomuna weapon crafted because it's impossible to get them. It's
impossible to get them.
I don't want to do these goddamn heroic missions.
Or heroic patrols or whatever.
The things. The grinds that I liked doing from like the last year of seasons of like getting all the crafted weapons and doing all that and like running Wellspring. I know I'm a sicko, whatever, but I liked it. I liked being able to get the red borders and stuff. Like,
having the more determined like places for these things was very nice.
It was nice, and I know they're experimenting with stuff. I get it. It's fine. It's just like I've lost touch with some of the things. I like already have all of the seasonal weapons crafted, but I like don't really like any of them. Perpetualis is okay, but
definitely a similar vibe of like they've not really grabbed me as much as like some of the more recent seasons had.
But and like the only guns that have really jumped out to me this whole season have been the raid guns, and talking about like the pandemic stuff and like all of our Destiny people not having as much time to play. I haven't been able to really run that many raids around. Like by now I'd normally have all of the raid weapons crafted, and I have none of them crafted, although I do have Adept Rufus that I've enhanced and stuff, and that's really cool. I'm a big fan of that. And I like that I have that kind of secondary route now as well. But yeah, I want to get more red border raid weapons. I like all these things, but I just like it's all a grind right now.
It's just a lot. And I think that'll be the nice thing about, at least what I'm hoping what'll kind of come out for the next season is like that we can kind of treat There obviously going to be a lot of new things to do in the new season. Like you said, the weekly story catch up. There will be some things to probably, there'll be new weapons to go get and, craft red border weapons to go get, a new dungeon to do and stuff. But like, ultimately,
Yes.
like, it'll be nice as like that of like, okay, yeah, we can kind of, if we want to, we can just kind of like jump into raids and catch up on other things.
It'll be a catch up season.
We can kind of treat it that way. And I think like we'll have to wait and see, but I can feel like them treating it that is a little bit too, because they have, we're not really doing a power grind. We're not really doing this or that. They can kind of maybe catch back up on, maybe some of the weird, there's definitely been a lot of weird connection things and other things. And then maybe, this is probably all in preparation for, more stuff they're doing later in the year. So like this might be a season to do that.
Like how when Dim went down because they were making the loadout system, it's definitely things are happening in the background that they're getting ready for. And, as like, we don't know how yet, but as we've discussed before, it'll be a different season, different format, no more 3x7 grid, right? Like it's going to be, I know, right? Thank fucking God. It's going to be nice and refreshing, hopefully. And it seems like, we'll talk about the one piece of art that we have, but we have so much to talk about just from that one thing. It seems like there's some really exciting things going on.
Yeah, for sure. But let's actually get into these blog posts, because holy crap, there is actually a lot here. In these blog posts,
we got a lot to talk about.
So yeah, you say we're already a little bit into the episode, but strap in.
Yeah, buckle up.
Buckle up. We're going to start with this first blog we got, which is related to a bunch of ability tuning and updates to mainly like supers in the game are coming in Season of the Deep, Season 21. So all of these will be updates to that stuff as well. And basically, like the short and long of it, like I said at the top, like basically they are buffing pretty much every damage super or roaming super in the game across all the classes. So basically, all of them are getting some kind of a change, and the majority of them are like significant like damage increases and other like verb and 3.0 stuff. So it's pretty big changes, right? Like it's pretty exciting stuff.
I don't know if it's selfish. I mean, it is to want another damage buff to Dawnblade, but I do. I just want to throw it out there. That was the one super that did not get.
I thought there was something in here, but maybe it was not a damage thing.
It's not a damage buff. Okay. It's another thing, but yeah. I mean, clearly that was like their test case. Like they gave it the 25% buff, and it's like that's basically what they're giving everything else. Yeah. But I just wanted more because I'm selfish.
Yeah. For sure. So let's start with so there were a couple of general things they did point here, because I basically have gone through and kind of done a abbreviation for, we have like a separate doc here I pulled out, and I broke it down by each class, but there were some general updates that are happening across the board, mainly to Strand stuff, and there's a couple of Strand updates in this as well. A lot of people, including myself, were kind of bummed by the updates from the mid-season patch, where they kind of made some adjustments to the orb creation and things for some of the abilities. And now learning about these updates, it makes a little bit more sense, because they are pretty dramatically reducing the cooldown on grapple. The grapple ability for Strand, it's going from, I think it's 100 seconds, 102 seconds.
105 to 82.
105 to 82. So it's slowly, becoming 23 seconds faster. And they're also...
That's just the base, too. I can't wait to see tier 10.
Exactly. That's just the base. So if you have even higher discipline stat, that's going to be even shorter. On top of the ability where they basically made the, if you had two grapples either on Hunter or on Titan with Armamentarium, there was like basically a cooldown between when you would grapple and then come out of your grapple, and then there'd be a brief waiting period where you could do a second grapple again. They basically have like with this change, it's like it's 2.5 seconds to now 0.2 seconds. They literally just removed it, which is amazing, because like 9 times out of 10, if I'm doing that, like immediate back to back grapples, is because I'm trying to save myself from like falling off a platform. So like usually you need that for that anyway. It's like being able to like have those immediate like that is a really great change. Really stoked for this as somebody who's you consider yourself the glaive stand. I would consider myself the grapple stand. Grapple makes those classes so much fun, particularly like Strand Titan. That is my favorite thing to run on Strand Titan is doing this like grapple kind of melee build I have with Armamentarium. It is just so much fun and frantic, and like I think it just plays into how the new Titan on Strand feels, where it's very in your face with the claws and the super, and using it to make using the grapple melee to also make the
woven
mail with the throwing the balls around and stuff. It's just I just really like that play style. It's just very fun to me. So it getting better with this, very exciting. Having more grapples faster, great stuff. The other thing though is I figured this was happening. This is Thread of Generation is getting a bit of a nerf. Reduced energy generation provided by some damage over time mechanics, and reduced energy generation provided by trace rifles by 36%. So I think this is specifically targeting that Osteo Striga stuff or Wither Horde and other things in particular, which is understandable, I guess. Like that seemed pretty potent in some things. I will say that like also on top of we'll get to it, they outlined the new aspects for the classes, and the Warlock one in particular sounds really strong. So I understand why they're maybe toning that down, because like now thinking of that build on top of the other having the other aspect will also definitely still be probably really good, but just not as crazy as it was. So I'm ultimately fine with it. And, again, that was not really the Osteo Suspend thing that people were doing. It was not really like my go-to Strand of Warlock build, so I was like not as attached to it.
It is fun though. I'll tell you that much.
But it did look fun for sure.
And with think about it, just with of course, Thread of Generation is going to get nerfed. I can't imagine anyone ever running Strand without it.
Yeah, it is like the go-to thing. Yeah.
But like, imagine that now with the new grapple cooldown, like it is still going to be faster. Like even with this, it's still going to be faster.
Yep, for sure. And then another thing they do, which I don't know if that was in this thing. Maybe I should have grabbed that. Maybe it was in this, where they also said that the melee regeneration specifically for having multiple melees is being changed.
Yeah.
Where like if you like depending on how many charges you have, you'll have your cooldown reduced even more. So if you have like no charges, it's even like it gets like a higher reduced cooldown on top of that. And then once you as you get more charges, that like cooldown increases a little bit, which I think is nice. It's like a nice ramp up.
It's the opposite. So when you're at 0 charges, it's down here. It's 0 charges, your cooldown is reduced by 15%. So it's 15% faster. And then at 2 charges, it's reduced by 30%. So the more charges you have, it'll top off to your final charge faster. And that's for both Arcane Needle on Warlock and the /slash on Titan, which I don't know the official name of.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay.
So it's base faster, and then it gets better as you hold on to your charges.
As you have more charges. Yeah, that's really cool.
Super cool. Cool.
Yeah, that's a really good change. Outside of that, though, for general stuff, they're doing a couple the verb changes. So Scorch basically is just going to last longer for PvP and PvE players. Basically, it says increase stun time before stacks begin falling off. From 1.5 to 2.3 seconds on players, and increased stun time before stacks begin falling off from 3 seconds to 4.5 seconds in PvE combatants. So basically, Scorch is just going to last longer now, which is pretty cool.
That's very good because, especially on some classes, like Warlock in particular, it's hard to get the stacks consecutive enough to cause an ignition.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to make stuff like Incandescent very, very potent.
Yeah. Even better than it was, which I still think it was pretty good.
Yeah, right.
So that's going to be cool. Other one, which I personally, I think I kind of saw this coming a little bit.
Yeah, we all did.
Jolt is getting a reduced PvE damage by 15%, and is also reducing additional damage scalar versus major combatants versus being in PvE by 20%. So definitely a big damage nerf for Jolt there across the board. I saw this coming. Jolt was super. I definitely think it was like the strongest out of the three, and I think it'll still be pretty good even with this nerf. But I feel like we'll just have to wait and see on that to get some numbers. But
my concern here, it's fine ultimately, right? Because Jolt's still going to be very potent and easy to proc. My concern is just like those weapons that really leaned on Volt Shot, like how well like Ikelos SMG really leaned on that perk. I'm curious if it's gonna hurt those a lot, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. Not to mention it's like, well, we'll get into it. It's being added to a lot of supers and stuff too, and like that seems like it could be really potent combos on top of what it was. So like it makes sense for them to like reduce that from that perspective as well, because otherwise some supers would be insane with that kind of damage output for sure. Then the last thing they did was speed booster. I think is generally getting a buff here where basically you'll be able to like kind of keep it stored a little bit more, which I like. Where now it's a bonus jump acceleration scalar reduced from 1.5 to 1.25. I'm okay with that because you can always over jump things so easily on that, and it made it a little awkward. So I actually kind of like that. Now activates while sprinting after 2.5 seconds, so it activates faster. Now lingers while the player is not sprinting for 2 seconds, from 1.5 seconds. So you basically have a little bit more time to kind of restart it while you're doing that. Then fixed a bug where if the player was already sprinting and then became amplified, speed booster would not be granted.
Thank God.
That's interesting, and that's good to hear.
That happens to me all the time, and I'm so glad that they are finally fixing that.
Yeah, that'd be nice indeed. Speed booster is just like a fun, simple thing, and just very like more movement based. So I like that. That's just going to be just a little bit better. But yeah, those are just general overview things. Now let's get into class specific things here that are getting updated. First, we're going to start with the Titan here, all the Titan updates. So a big thing at the start of the article, they talked about generally each class's aspects. They're basically kind of adjusting a bunch of aspects that had one fragment slot are now going to have 2 fragment slots because they felt like they kind of go more in detail in the blog. So where I'm kind of speeding it up a little bit here because we have so much to cover. But basically, they feel like they're comfortable adding an extra slot to some of these because they're underperforming, or they're just they feel like where the sandbox is, they can handle having more fragments attached onto that. And ultimately, I think this is great because it adds a lot more build crafting opportunities and makes these some of these aspects much more viable selections.
Yes.
Overall.
Thank God. I've been waiting for Chaos Accelerant to get 2 slots for so long.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's going to be for sure for the Warlock. That's going to be really nice. But for the Titan in particular, the 2 ones they pointed out were Bastion, which is the Void aspect, which this actually is like really cool to me because this is the one that gives you Void over Shield for putting a barricade down. So like a lot of people already run that already, and I included myself. So having another Void fragment slot for running that is going to be great. Juggernaut, which is the aspect on the Titan. I believe that's the one where like when you sprint you get the overshield. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what that one is.
The circular shield in front of you. Yeah.
So that is that one. I don't know. I have 2 slots, which is cool. I don't use it too much. That feels like maybe it's like more of a PvP thing. But that's cool nonetheless. So those are the 2 aspects that are getting updated. Those are gonna be nice for sure. Supers. A lot of Titan supers, because as we mentioned, like basically all the roaming damage supers are getting buffed in some way, shape, or form. And boy, does that mainly be the Titan for like pretty much half their supers are running around punching things or smashing things. So basically across the board, all of these are getting updated in some way, shape, or form. The one that's getting the most is Fists of Havoc, which is definitely the super that needs it the most. So basically the light attack and the heavy attack are getting their attack super cost reduced. Light attack is from 8.5 to 6%. Heavy attack is 18% to 12%. And the heavy attack is also being increased in PvE damage by 33%. And it will also now blind targets near the center of the slam. That's going to be, I think that's going to be really fun. And some activities now to use, like, because you know, if you don't know, like, when you pop that Fist of Hack super, that's like the first thing he does out of the super. Like, the Titan immediately leaps up and does like a big punch and slam. So you can basically just like instant super on a champion or like some bigger enemy, and that blinds them in that radius right there to like stun a champion. Like, that'll be really fun to just wreck a fool with that. And it's 33% more damage, so like that could be really strong in some content for sure, to just like come out of the gate with that and just mess somebody up. And yeah, the super as a whole is just going to last longer, because it's, you know, it's less damage percentage. So yeah, hey, we memed about it last episode, and I put it in the title, but it might be time for that Eternal Warrior meta, baby.
Eternal Warrior meta? Question mark. We might be in it. I might bust it out and dust it off and see how it goes. Just a plume.
Yeah. Dust bunnies everywhere. Yeah, so we'll have to see about that for sure. The next one up, Stasis Titan Glacial Quake. Increased Shiver Strike thrust speed while in super by 10%. And increased light attack damage by 20%. So that could be really cool. I think in particular in the super, that means you can just get around a lot faster in general, because that's definitely, it was always the vibe with Stasis Titan super, was that you just kind of would really more, I think, just pop it and just sit there and shoot the things over and over again from where you were.
R2 for crystals over and over again.
For crystals everywhere. For at least it gives this thing like more movement ability across the board. And like with the other change we'll get to with Titans, which is, you know, which, you know, is the shoulder charge changes. This also brings this more into play and in line with those melee abilities. So in general, I'm curious where Stasis Titan will land, because this has always been one for me that, like, it is like a class in the game across the three characters. Like, I pretty much like playing every class. This is the only one I've like never liked actually playing. Like, I don't really have a build or a setup for it. I just do not enjoy the playstyle of the Titan, the Stasis Titan. I just think the super does not feel good to use for me personally, and like just some of the other stuff, like some of its aspects and stuff. Like, so I don't know. Like, this sounds interesting, at least them trying stuff with it. I'm glad they're at least making changes to this class finally in some shape or form. But I think, like, for me to be interested, they'd have to make a lot bigger changes. Personally for me, but you know, hey, maybe there'll be people this is for out there for sure. Next up, we have a bunch of more roaming supers. So the Sentinel Shield Void super is getting increased damage by 20%. That's awesome. That's a fun super. Doomfang Pauldron's meta is here. Hammer of Soul increased PV damage by 10%. You know, not as much, but I personally think that that's already like out of a lot of the roaming supers. I figured like that was kind of already
one of the better ones.
One of the better ones on the Titan in particular. So I'm fine with it just getting a little bit more damage. That's cool. And then Burning Maul is also getting increased PV damage by 10%. Now creates a sunspot on cast when Soul Invictus is equipped, matching the behavior of Hammer of Soul. So that's good, because that is that's a nice thing on Hammer of Soul for sure. Now the heavy attack Cyclone now applies Scorch over time, which that could be really good as well, because, you know, depending on how much Scorch it applies, that could be like a bunch of damage too, because then it's popping off ignitions and stuff. So I'll be curious
how a lot of booms.
How that does for sure. So here's the next thing. Now we're moving off from supers across the board. I like all these changes. I definitely am most curious to try out Fist of Havoc and Sentinel Shield from those. Those are two like Titan playstyles I have played previously and liked. So maybe finding new builds for those potentially, if they feel really good now, will be fun. But now we're moving on to Titan abilities. The ability you're thinking of is Frenzied Blade. That's the strand melee.
Slashy.
Yes, that is what we mentioned earlier. It's decreased cooldown based on how many melee charges the player has stored. At 0 charges, cooldown is reduced by 15%. At 2 charges, cooldown reduced by 30%. So yeah, that's really cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I already like the Titan triple blade melee in general already, because it's like having those 3 charges gives it like a lot of like viable things. Like you can use one to be more for like a movement tool to like dash around, and like, you know, that eats a charge, but you still have 2 more charges and you can use them for other things. And now that they recharge even faster if you're just using it for movement, similar to how the shoulder charge stuff works now. I like that a lot. Shiver Strike, which is the stasis melee, which is like the lungy punch, is maximum thrust while in flight increased by 16%, decreased to maximum downward influence of gravity while in flight by 18%. That basically just means, you know, if you do it in the air, you'll have much more aerial movement.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, seeing how that works and is used around. Excuse me. And then here was the change I mentioned already, was the shoulder bash charges, which I definitely know people are a little iffy on this, and maybe
the most controversial change.
Yeah,
which,
for sure.
It's fine. I think if this is like the most controversial change, then we're in okay territory.
Yeah, basically. Exactly that. So now whenever you do a basically a shoulder charge on activation, and you basically don't connect with it, it'll cost 15% of your melee energy. And that is for Seismic Strike, which is the Arc one, Shield Bash for Void, and Hammer Strike for Solar. So basically now whenever you do one, that's like you sprint for a little bit, and then you can do like a charge. And it'll take a little bit of your melee energy. I mean, if you that's the thing though. Like if you already have like a decent melee stat, you're just basically all it is doing is adding like a little bit of an extra time in between you can do them. Because considering you can do them for free, and if you kind of compare that to other classes, every other class that has some movement tool has like a cost tied to it. So like this I think this is a fair thing, because like even still it is like less of a cost than the 2 other classes have, because you have Warlock, who has Icarus Dash on Solar, or I would consider like, you know, I'd consider like, I guess you consider like the slide lightning thing from the Arc stuff, kind of in a similar thing maybe. Like ultimately, like, sure, you know, that stuff costs like things to do, where you have to have a full on aspect to use an Icarus Dash to even use it. If you want to have the actual like viable version of that, you have to have Heat Rises and need a grenade, so you have multiple of those to use. You know,
and people like comparing the two. Like, listen, I know I'm a Warlock. I'm not trying to be super defensive here, but it's just like, yeah, it is a weird thing. It's a big change. I get it. And like there was a thing where they changed this a while ago to make the shoulder charge more of a movement tool, and now they're kind of backtracking on that. I get it. I understand the frustration, but like shoulder charge murders and Icarus Dash does nothing.
Yeah.
So
it's just
there is a difference. I think there's a substantial difference. They use like at tier 10, it's about 7 seconds you have to wait between charges. Was the example they used, and they standardized the cooldown to 91 seconds across all shoulder charges now, which is shorter than it was period on any of them. The longest was 114, the shortest was 101. So I don't know, I think it's not too bad, but I do get it. As the only times I ever played Titan, I just charge my way all around. I get it.
Yeah,
it's weird. Mm-hmm. We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. You know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. And on top of that, the other way they're doing this is they're increasing the cooldown quite significantly down to 91 seconds.
Yeah,
which is it's the base cooldown, so it'll still be even better if you have, you know, better like melee stats and stuff. So this stuff can be adjusted to be still probably very useful and good, all things considered, as long as you now kind of build into it a little bit more, which I think is like a good trade-off. that they're trying to do across the board with a lot of abilities and things like that. So I think it'll be fine. Let's move on here. The next one they're doing, which is Knockout, which is I believe is an aspect for the Titan. I figured this would get nerfed or hit a little bit because it is really potent in PvP in particular.
Yeah.
The lunge range for the melee is getting reduced by basically like 1 whole meter from 6.5 to 5.5. Which is good because I know it had pretty insane kind of melee lunging and stuff going on, which I know
kind of breaking internets all across the globe.
People are not a fan of that for sure in some regards, so I get that. And then the other thing they're doing to change that is they're actually buffing it in PvE, which they're making it the uncharged melee PvE damage bonus increased from 60% to 100%. It's getting a pretty potent now, like.
And it heals you also.
And it heals you,
by the way.
So that's going to be pretty strong now in PvE.
That's fun.
And yeah, I was going to say, considering I was mostly playing PvE in general, that'll be fun for me for Knockout because I'm pretty sure I use Knockout with that kind of stuff already.
Yeah.
I'm definitely been thinking about this change. If this change to the dashing around, because that's what I mainly use on Arc Titan mainly. And granted, Arc Titan also has the booster, so you can use that to move around and stuff. Granted, you can't do it in the air with it, but like still, it's pretty useful. I'll definitely mess around with this and see how it feels. And like if it is a little weird, now maybe this will finally be the time to give Thunderclap a fair shake because I was not feeling it as much as some of the other as that movement in general dash melee in general compared to that stuff. But maybe it'll be time to try it. And I think in general I will just they're clearly trying a lot to like make other aspects of Arc Titan more interesting than just running Thunder Crash Titan, which pretty much everybody who has an Arc Titan setup has run Thunder Crash for probably multiple years because it's been the only thing that's like worthwhile. So like them now trying more to like buff these other things is enough incentive for me to at least like go like, hey, I'm gonna try this. I mean, fuck it, I'll throw on Eternal Warrior or whatever. There's another Arc melee helmet that like gives you like health regen on melee kills or something. I forget what it's called exactly, but
yeah,
I know there's that Arc helmet, Titan helmet that does it as well. So yeah, they're doing enough to make me want to like try other Arc Titan stuff out and see if it feels good or could be interesting. So that's cool. Always like when that happens. Next up, for more Titan ability updates, I'm particularly stoked for this one because God, I want Shield Throw to actually be a good melee because they are basically increasing the base impact damage from 60 to 70, increasing the damage, so that's nice. And they're increasing the consistency of fighting and adjusting initial trajectory toward a new target after a bounce. So I'm assuming that means like basically you'll throw it, and if it hits an enemy, it'll be better about maybe going to another enemy, I guess is what that's saying, or maybe it's just if it like bounces off a surface and like it'll kind of track back to another enemy. That's nice to hear. I mean, I know I've somewhat of a broken record. I feel like saying this because I've seen everybody sing it now, where like everyone just wants them to make this melee like the Hunter strand melee, where you throw it and you can catch it back to yourself, Captain America style, and do that. It'd be really rad if they eventually do that with this. It'd be cool. I feel like they have to make more adjustments to this than there is, but I'd be all down for that because like I feel like the Shield Throw has potential to be a really cool melee for the Titan. It just hasn't got there yet. And the Shield Bash I did like, but I do. But I ultimately, as long as they keep updating these other ones, make them more viable options, I'd be more willing to use these other melees on Titan for sure if they keep buffing them like this. Similarly, throwing hammer on Solar Titan is getting adjusted to have its initial flight trajectory based on your aim assist target. So basically just means I think it'll have a better, landing. You'll be able to hit it a little better and miss those weird things where sometimes you'll like throw it. You'll kind of be in the line of sight of enemy and it'll still just kind of like fly past them. So hoping it's like it has a little bit more aim assist on it. Maybe is what's happening here.
I think so. Yeah,
should be cool. And then the last thing here for Titan is their sunspots are getting their damage increased against players. like basically like the damage over time the Sullen Swats can do are getting a little bit better in against players in PvP particularly. So that'll be interesting. I'm sure one more thing for PvP players to get upset about or whatever. Anyway, moving on to Warlock. Next up, your special one here. The Warlock mains rise up. Like we said, the aspect that's getting a second fragment for Warlock is Chaos Accelerant. That is the Void one where they gives you the supercharged grenades. That is definitely really dope. Considering, like, I know I didn't mind having the less things because I just liked having the super powerful grenades because that's what I've run on Void Warlock in particular forever. So now just immediately know like the thing I was already doing quite a lot and really like playing as a Void Hunter already, or not Void Hunter but Void Warlock already is now just gonna be able to be even better because I can run another fragment. Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I've realized that I do not like aspects that incorporate the rift. I just generally don't like them because my rift is like my break glass in case of emergency button. So I really don't like, it's Child of the Old Gods. I like these things. It's just like I don't use it as much, so I don't engage with it as much.
Yeah.
So I can finally run Devour Chaos Accelerant with 4 aspect slots.
Yes.
And I am so excited about it. I didn't run Void for 6 months because I only like to run like Chaos Accelerant plus Controverse, and I felt like I did not have the build potential that I wanted. And I'm so excited to put stuff together with this now.
Yeah. And on top of that Chaos Accelerant buff, Nova Warp and Nova Bomb are also getting damage buffs to their supers. Nova Warp is getting a 15% damage buff in PvE, and a fully charged attack will now make enemies volatile. So
that's fun.
That's going to be fun for sure. And then Nova Bomb is also getting a 20% damage buff.
Both of them.
So that is awesome. As the Slova Bomb user, I will continue to use that, and now that'll be even better. On top of having more fragments, I'm super stoked. I've always really liked Void Warlock, running my Nezarec Sin for quite some time, and that's been a tried and true for me when I do my Void Warlock. So I like that. It's just the fact that it's just like I'm already running a build and it's just going to be immediately better without even having to make any adjustments. Like just because of this stuff, it's cool. It's always a good feeling.
Nova Bomb might be pretty spicy after this.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm kind of excited.
I am pretty stoked for it as well. Another one that's going to be, I think, really, I think a lot of people are also stoked for is both Arc Warlock supers are getting a pretty big damage buff as well. Stormtrance and the goated Chaos Reach are getting both 25% 25% damage buff. Somebody out there, like I know, like now I think that's just more for our specific group because there's so many people in our group, our Twitter DM chat, and probably who generally listen to this that are like so. They're like into Chaos Reach in a way that like I just like respect, even though like I'm like
sucks.
Yeah, even though it kind of just sucks. Like, and that's and that's like some of it was because of the changes they made, and like I'm just gonna like rip the Band-Aid off for people who are like still on this copium train. They are not bringing back that charge like super thing.
No,
they're not bringing it back. It's never come back. It's like just accept that.
It's not coming back.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna rip that copium mask off your face and just throw it to the ground. Like I loved it too. Don't get me wrong. I loved that too. And it was very useful. But like it's just like the game is so different now. They remember like that change was made. And they completely changed how like super regeneration rate changed in the game. On top of now, but like how many orbs and things we generate across the game. Like
it's not happening.
Yeah, like they can't. They like it just. They does not. They are not going to bring that back. They can't. They kind of can't just because of how the game works now. Like it just. They won't. They are not. I don't think they're just going to make it a PvE specific thing. They're going to do. I mean, if like considering how many changes they're making to Chaos Reach right now with this buff, like this would have been the moment to do it. And I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, we don't know what they're doing to exotics yet. I hope they change its geomags somehow, but I don't think they're going to bring the top off back. I don't think any exotic should have super top off. To be fair, I think that's like too powerful.
Yep.
I will say this though. So Chaos Reach 25% buff, gonna jolt some stuff now. You'll be able to move faster, which is nice. I still don't know if this is gonna be enough of a buff for Chaos Reach to be good. I really don't. I think Chaos Reach is like super underperforming. I think it needed a 50% buff. I know that might sound crazy, but I just it's so short, and with jolt damage, it's going to be different, but jolt is also getting a nerf. So I feel like if jolt didn't get a nerf and it got this, it would be good. But with both, I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say though, Storm Trance is going to be fucking good. Especially, I'm hoping like for once that Vesper of Radiance? No, that's the one we joke about.
It's a Storm Dancers. Is that what it is?
Storm Dancers brace.
There's actually two Storm Trance. Like there's like the Crown of Tempest, and I think
Crown of Tempest. But Storm Dancers brace is what I was thinking of. Yeah. That might be very good.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was when they redid Storm Trance and buffed it with Arc 3.0, it did get a little bit better. It was very like not as good as I wanted it to be. And there's a lot of work to get up to the max damage for that. But now with 25% on top of that scaling, that could potentially be very good.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely worth trying out. I'm torn because like I really like my Arc buddy, and I like having the gloves, that the getaway artist gloves that lets you get the accelerated boost or whatever. With that, and having Arc buddy up way more. So like it's admittedly you got to do a lot in general to get me to try other Arc things at this point. I'm definitely curious about this Chaos Reach one for sure. Because I know, like you said, like, will they make more adjustments to geomags? Definitely possible, but I think like people forget a lot is like the thing that made Chaos Reach wasn't good because of previously having to top it off. Chaos Reach was good because of geomags. Yeah, and all they did was remove the topping off.
Yeah, it still makes it last longer.
So like it still makes it last considerably longer with geomags on. That then leads to you also being able to proc more jolting effects. So like there still is a potential that it could be really good with this with
geomags,
geomags combined. So like it's definitely up in the air. Like it's like it totally could, I think it could go both ways. Like it could be really good or like at least like decent to be like a middle of a pack super where it's like it's just fun to use for general use kind of stuff.
Because also worth noting, they did significantly buff the Chaos Reach cooldown. I think they brought it from, it was tier 4 and they brought it to tier 2, I believe. Right. And it's like 7-15 base cooldown. So that's, there's definitely a world where it's like quick clear the room and then you're good. Type deal.
Yeah, and something else I completely forgot to add that was in this abilities tuning TWAB off the top is at right at the start of the article, and this is a across the board thing they're doing. They're increasing damage resistance while in a super by 20% for all supers. That even includes. They specified it on Twitter. It does include Well of Radiance and Bubble, but it's specifically when you cast it. So like when you're casting it, you have like more like a 20% extra thing. So that you have way more damage resistance, and that was definitely a weakness of Chaos Reach even before it was buffed. Was that you have to get up in the air and have your like be able to see around a lot more to get your targets. Like having that, you could just have that brief window where you're up in the air and you're just you're gonna have to get in time. You're just boned. And the fact that you have that, like, I think adds a lot more. Just because, like, I think a lot of the usefulness of Chaos Reach was that you could up in the air and it had that long reach with the beam. So there's potential with it again, but I don't know. I don't know where it'll land. We'll have to see once we're in the season.
the straight scalar 3.5 meters per second movement to 4.5 meters per second movement, I think that's going to be huge. Like you're going to be able to move while you got chaos reach on.
Yeah,
and I think that's hype.
Yeah, and they're adjusting the camera as well, so I've got to see how that looks.
To hopefully be, because I think they're doing that's the same adjustment they're making to Dawnblade, so hopefully that will be good. And also the landfall seekers will jolt targets now in Storm Trance, which is really cool.
Yeah, that'll be super fun because you usually always pop that just on a crowd of enemies as you start your super, so just like popping in a crowd and then just like jolting a bunch of dudes on top of that. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun for sure.
Yeah.
Moving on here to the last two super updates, we have Winter's Wrath is getting an increased PvE damage by 10%. I will say I feel the same way you did as you mentioned Chaos Reach about this Winter's Wrath. Or no, is it Winter's Wrath or whatever? I just forgot the name of it immediately.
Winter's Wrath, you got it.
Yep. I feel that same way about you, where it's like it feels way underperforming, and I wish it was way stronger. I feel like it used to be way stronger, and then I remember that like the mass nerfing of stasis happened. I think that was like, what was that? That was like a while ago at this point.
Yeah.
And I think it's just always been that thing where it's like the stasis has never fully recovered from a lot of those nerfs, and I feel like stasis Warlock, outside of having the turret buddy and some other things, has just like never recovered, and like it getting a little bit more damage is cool, but I kind of wish it got a little bit more here.
Sure. I mean it does do pretty good damage. I think the problem is it's a roaming super that you aren't using for boss DPS, and they said it's like, hey, just to make this a little bit better for this, and I am hopeful that this makes like unstoppable champions a little bit easier to hurt because obviously it stuns unstops with the freeze.
Sure, yeah.
And it's always been a very good like panic, shut down, lock everything down kind of tool.
Yeah.
So hopefully if you can actually kill some things when you do that, that'd be nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I haven't gotten like I talked about this in my review. Slight aside, it's just a weird season to run Arc or Stasis because of the way they did the artifact.
Yeah.
So
that's the artifact and the surge stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so we have like basically there's zero reason to run Stasis right now. And that's a huge bummer because Stasis is one of the best Warlock subclasses in the game, I think. It's so useful at just staying alive and keeping things locked down.
Yeah.
So I haven't really been able to mess around with the new gauntlets, the stasis gauntlets that buff this super in particular. And like every time you burst, it gives overshield.
Not worth it.
I know it. I'm hoping
I could tell you.
I'm hoping if you can do a little bit more damage and potentially aid allies, that would make Winter's Wrath like more in the acceptable range. Obviously, then you're choosing these dumb gauntlets over Osmiomancy, blah, blah, blah. There's plenty of other reasons why it's not going to actually be that way, but I'm hoping it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely agree. Like, I hope this is like, they do this one thing and then they go like, yeah, that wasn't enough. And then they keep buffing it a little bit more.
Would love some new stasis supers. I know it's asking a lot. I'm just saying, I'm sure it's down the pipe somewhere.
Like,
at some point will happen.
I'm sure that's a like after the final shape what are some things we can do? Oh, new stasis supers or new this or that for these classes. Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely thought about for sure. And then let's see, the last one here, again, supers like we already mentioned, Daybreak is getting its camera adjusted as well for being able to see. It's basically saying it so you can see basically our player character model is not blocking the view as much, I guess is what it's going for. So we'll have to see how that looks. So that's cool. Let's see. Next up are the Warlock abilities. First, we got Arcane Needle, which is basically it's getting the similar treatment where, to that strand melee where it has its cooldown reduced depending on how many melees you have or don't have. They're increasing the projectile speed and tracking as well, which is good. Because I have had that a little bit with
didn't need to for me, honestly. I think it's pretty good, but they're making it better.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was more like the tracking for me because I know I'm guessing more topo because it has a kind of like a range to it as you felt it, where it's like if like the enemy's too close, it'll kind of more easily miss because it has to like arc a little bit, and like that's a lot of times that arc just can miss for me sometimes. So like I'm hoping maybe it's just that speed and the tracking is just like enough to help you at range a little bit more.
Love it.
But yeah, overall, that's still a really good melee. In fact, it's better, faster cooldowns and stuff. Yeah, great stuff. Also, remember that Claws Ahamkar is getting a 4th melee charge next season, so that'll be fun to try out.
Love it. Very love it.
That'll be fun to try out for sure. Next up, we got Frost Pulse, which that is the aspect that gives like the Rift cast, the big freeze. That's what that is now. It provides 2 additional meters of melee lunge range after activation for 1.2 seconds. So that's an interesting one. I think that's mainly like a PvP thing. That's the vibe I'm getting from that, where it should just be like if you want to use that to like freeze people in PvP, you'll then have a better chance of just like meleeing them right after it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal if you're good at it. But again, Frost Pulse is an aspect I never use.
Yeah,
as previously discussed, anything tied to the Rift.
I'm pretty much never going to use that as well. Next up, we have Incinerator Snap, which is fixed an issue preventing the secondary projectile arming shape from activating. I don't know I have no idea what that means fully. And then the total damage versus players is reduced from 150 to 135 to compensate for dramatically increased consistency. So I'm guessing maybe just, it's I'm hoping that means it's just like when enemies are close from range, it has a better chance at hitting them in it.
They had a little text here. I'll break out for you.
Oh, sure. Right.
To clarify, we identified a bug with Incinerator Snap that resulted in projectiles failing to proximity detonate. We fixed this bug, needed to make some tuning adjustments to compensate. In PvE, Incinerator Snap should feel more consistent and keep roughly the same damage output that it had in previous seasons. In the Crucible, however, Incinerator Snap's total damage has been reduced because it is going to be more consistent. So I think it's just like that those 2 ones that would go off, they would not blow up by proximity like they were supposed to. Okay. And that's why I think a lot of people felt like it was hard to kind of nail them all inward and get the ignition that you're going for. Because if you hit all 5, you can get an ignition if you have the one fragment on. So I've always loved Incinerator Snap. There's definitely a trick to it, but them making it more consistent, I think is going to make more people come around to it.
Yeah. Worth giving it a second shot for sure, because I know I definitely was personally not vibing with it, but I'll be willing to give it another shot. If this change makes it more fun. This change in particular, I like a lot. Ball Lightning.
Yeah, it's good.
It's getting increased PvE damage by 30%, and it's reducing the ping scalar on both secondary and primary detonations, so combatants are less likely to be knocked out of the secondary strike area while the player is amplified.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's really good. That
happens a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I used Ball Lightning actually as my main melee before the 3.0 changes, because they made changes to it that did not feel as potent as it was. So getting a bunch of damage increases. I'm stoked, because I always liked that it was like a little bit more of a projectile melee.
Yeah,
and had more range. So I'm definitely gonna try that out.
Yeah, 30% damage is a lot.
Is a lot. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it has like another like 3.0 effect on it. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, when you're amplified, it explodes twice when it hits a target.
Right, that's what it is.
So like double tapping that with 30% more damage is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun for sure. A good update. Then we have Chaos Accelerant. They are once again adjusting scatter grenades again, because I feel like these are always busted. Yeah. Because it's like a thing where like they track and then but they always kind of just hit each other. So I just never bother using them. But it seems like they're trying again to like kind of fix the tracking and be better as well. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, this is definitely I have to see it to believe it type deal.
Yeah, for sure. And then Magnetic Grenade, which is the handheld supernova, is increasing the charge hold time from 3 seconds to 4.5 seconds. So is that saying it's longer to charge it, or is it you can hold it for longer? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so
which is good for if you're running chaos, or if you're running controverse. Obviously, that gives you damage resist. So that's the most potent one to run, and hopefully like that has like the slightly better tracking that Incinerator Snap has. I would like that.
Yeah, for sure. But then the last we have here is Lightning Surge, which is fixed an issue allowing Lightning Surge to deal more instances of secondary strike damage than intended. Now targets can take a maximum of 2 instances of damage from a single activation of the ability, one from the primary lightning strike around the player, and one from the secondary lightning strike. This change necessitated some changes in damage values, but in general, its damage output should be significantly more consistent and slightly higher than the intended value previously, but without the ability to one-shot a single enemy guardian from full health. So basically, the melee is going to be doing more damage, probably in like something like PvE maybe, but it's not going to be like killing people in PvE.
It's not going to be the one shot in PvP that it could if you got them like against a wall.
Right.
I will say though, if you don't do it lightning surge, if you just see 2 people because it jolts, you will get a kill on both if you lightning surge. If there's 2 people within jolting range, very fun. Highly recommended.
Yeah, definitely like a melee I've not messed around with enough than I should have.
It's good. Yeah, it's worth checking out. It's very fun.
Yeah, it seems fun. All right. Those are all of the Warlock changes. A lot of good stuff in there. I'm stoked for the Void stuff. That's pretty much Void,
100%.
Void stuff is always Void Warlock was always generally my favorite. And I still like it. I still like it a lot even now. But these like changes, just baseline doesn't make it immediately better with an extra fragment, more super damage. Yeah, great stuff. It's good changes. Now on to the Hunter, everybody's favorite. The aspects, 3 aspects are getting updated to have 2 things. That is Trapper's Ambush, which is the Hunter aspect that has like the dive smoke bomb. Shadow Dive, of course, back from the grave because they gave it back its second thing. Because I'm pretty sure it had multiple at the start. And they took one
started
away,
with 2.
And they took more. Gunpowder Gamble Baby is getting doubled up as well. That's exciting. I love Gunpowder Gamble's like slept on because of PvP dorks. But
it's really fun.
It is so much fun. But yeah, that's gonna now have 2. I'm that's gonna be really fun. So a ton of just like the Hunter as well has a decent amount of roaming super. So a ton of PvE buffs to Hunter supers are coming in. So we have Golden Gun. Both versions of Golden Gun are getting increased PvE damage by 20%. So that's going to be doing insane damage now, even more.
Fucking nuts. Celestial Nighthawk is back on the menu, baby.
Celestial Nighthawk meta is back. We're back to D2 year 1, baby. That's good. I'm very curious to see how strong that is.
Me too.
Arc Staff is getting a 20% PvE damage buff. That's great. I feel like they've consistently given this damage buffs, and it's needed it every time, and it's more the case here as well. It's needed this damage buff for quite some time. I'm very interested to try it out. For sure. Stoked to try it. And
this is the one though. I don't know about this one, y'all. This is a bad idea.
Blades. Increased PvE damage by 35%.
Of all the supers to get the biggest
damage,
buff.
Baby.
Spectral Blades.
Spectral Blades meta is here. Hold on. I need to look up quickly.
What's the one exotic?
There's
Spectral Blades.
There is legitimately it's a Hunter chest piece that has something to do with Spectral Blades. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Nope, not that one. It's this one. Gwisin Vast meta, baby. It's here. Each Spectral Blade kill you make before going into stealth will restore more of your super energy. See, this makes your super last longer. Actually, that could you know what?
That's fucked.
You know what? Okay, here we go.
Remember when this was bad in the Crucible, y'all?
Great. This damage buff's for PvE, so like it's just PvE. I know,
but like the issue caused it like.
Oh, right, true. There was an issue caused from the right hand Spectral Blade attacks failing to connect when attacking at maximum speed. So I guess they're making it so it's more consistently hitting stuff. Its heavy attack now also weakens. Meaning you can rush, you can basically start off by hitting an enemy and weakening them. That's gonna be fun for like a champion because doesn't weaken
stuns.
Is it overloads or I think
no, it's none. It's no champions this weekend.
Yeah,
it's blinded and jolt is overload. Blinded is unstop and suppressed is unstop as well.
Still putting
imagine if they gave it
Yeah, I know, suppression. That'd be wild. I mean, still though, weaken is just going to let everybody else do more damage. That could be useful in that regard.
That's
just pop weaken and then just like go ham with your blades.
You hit the big guy with weaken, go start clearing out everyone else while your two comrades work on the big guy. I think there's definitely a tactical use of spectral blades now that could be good.
That could be fun. Yeah, I'm curious about that. Gwisin Vest meta. I'm calling it here.
The thumbnail for this episode should just be Eternal Warrior Vesper of Radiance, because the meme. It's not actually going to be getting any buffs, and then Gwisin Vest, and that's just it.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Yep, I'm on it. It's not going to be the cool art for the new season.
No, not at all. Of course not.
The 3 terrible exotics that are going to be copium picks probably now. God, perfect. Next up, Gathering Storm. Largely all these buffs for Gathering Storm are specifically for PvP, which will be interesting because basically direct impact damage versus players increased from 200 to 300.
One shot you in your super basically.
Yeah. Delayed lightning strike damage versus players increased from 300 to 500. Lingering lightning tick damage increased from 40 to 60. Now deals increased damage versus Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn.
That's smart.
That is smart. That is a good use. That's like a good way to like position this super as like a counter to all of that stuff.
Yeah, it needed to be better at shutting down those two things in particular, so that's good.
So yeah, that'll be. I'm sure PvP people are stoked about that. And that's like a fun super. Like it's already pretty decent in PvE, so that's like giving an extra use in PvPs.
Didn't they say that they like made the tracking a little bit better with the initial throw as well?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I think
that's good.
Yeah, I think they did say that, like it had some better tracking. And better about like sticking into things or something.
I
think. But moving on now to the abilities now for the Hunter being updated. The Hunter melee for Strand is getting buffed. Which
we already went over this last time.
Yeah, we already went over
their preview.
But yeah, a lot of good stuff for that. It goes through Cabal shields. It does 55. It's going to do 55% more damage. And it'll have like a more of a lead time coming back to you, so it'll make it easier to catch. I like that stuff across the board. I already kind of liked the melee as it was now, so like it being even better is cool.
Agreed.
Withering Blade, which is the stasis melee, is getting better tracking, search range on bounce versus players by 20%, so it's gonna be even better for PvP tracking, and increased maximum tracking strength by 12.5%. I feel like this is like somewhat reverting a nerf they made to tracking on it before.
That does sound right.
But I think that's definitely where it landed. And then Snare Bomb. I like this change. Is increasing its PvE weaken duration from 4 seconds to 8 seconds. So basically, it makes it's going to be able to put weaken on a target for longer, thanks with your Snare Bomb melee, which I think is cool. More versatility with that thing is cool. And then we have Proximity Knife, and all the knives are basically getting nerfed in some way because they are definitely a menace in PvP from what I found. When people popping off with them, so like Proximity Knife is getting its damage versus players reduced, and its impact damage, so it's exploding and it's like damage hitting people will both be or its detonation damage is going to be reduced, but its impact damage is actually being increased. So that's my mistake. But basically, if you hit somebody directly with it now, it'll be much more potent. And then I think it'll be an actual full on kill. It might have been before, but now it's less so. Like what people were using it for, they're basically just using it as a second grenade and just like throwing it in the vicinity, and as long as it just exploded in that vicinity, people would get killed by it. So I think they're just removing that now, which is good. Weighted throwing knife is getting kind of reduced tracking with mouse and keyboard. And then I think this is some other tracking things in general for that. So getting nerfed, it's fine. And then lightweight knife, projectile speed increased. And then its tracking is also getting better as well. Tracking shape size increased by 20%. So I think it just makes it like have more of a radius for when you're trying to do that. So yeah, that's cool. Then the last one here for abilities is Gunpowder Gamble is going from a 12-second cooldown to a 6-second cooldown. Let's go.
That's
Gunpowder
awesome.
Gable is going to be good. Very good. I like it a lot. It's always been super fun in PvE. And I've definitely, I get it. I've definitely blown myself up a whole heck of a lot of times with it, but I don't care because it's worth it because the effectiveness it can be for taking out crowds. The fact that now I can have it even faster and also will now have an extra aspect with it.
And you can dress like a cowboy now.
Yes, exactly. full fantasy achieved.
Yeah, good changes. Interesting, like things to note, right? No strand super nerfs. Right. Titan is still going to be very powerful. Very super. Same with Hunter. Warlock, as always, will have a fine super. I like that super a lot. It's just it's not like on the level of the others for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think these are all good buffs for the most part. Obviously, some very specific nerfs, but generally trying to make our supers more viable. Do you think there will be? I mean, obviously we got to play and see, but is there a world where you'll run a GM with a roaming super?
Possibly. I mean, I've done it with Strand already this season, so like there's a potential.
That's true, and they're trying to get it to where that's at. So yeah.
And considering we also had the Surge stuff this season, I'll be very curious to see what Strand feels like without Surge on in these activities, and what one of these will feel like when we have those as a Surge. Like what would these Arc supers feel like in a Arc Surge in a GM?
Chaos Reach could actually be good then.
we still have to see how those feel. Like I feel like those combo with that are really strong, and on top of we also know there's another piece where a ton of exotics are being updated and changes. We don't know if that's all armor, but it could be a mix of armor and weapons getting updates. I'm sure that'll be one of the TWABs we get in the last couple weeks here, or maybe a separate blog like this one was. I think we'll get that before Season of the Deep launches. So we don't know what that stuff will be. So we might have other pairings of exotics with this stuff that might be even crazier for sure to feel out. But across the board, I like all these changes. They are basically vast majority really good buffs to things that have needed it for a while. A lot of roaming supers and things that have just been untouched in some of my builds and playing of Destiny that I liked at some point. There were times where I liked using Arc Staff on Hunter or other abilities on other classes, and now that they're kind of starting to pull them up a little bit more. I might want to go back to them again.
Yeah, I'm excited about Nova Bomb. Void Warlock is going to be really good next season. It's going to be a real bummer if there's no Void Surges across the whole game next season. So
in general, I hope they revisit how the Surge stuff works in general.
How that stuff works. Yeah,
I would personally prefer them to just I know this can feel maybe a different kind of limiting, but I would be okay if they just went back to having Surges be tied to strikes, at least maybe in GM, maybe at GM level, so it adds a little bit more variety to those. Because you definitely felt to this, like you said, you definitely felt to this season of well, I did a majority of my GMs one week when it was Solar and Strand, so we just did all Solar and Strand for every single one, and it worked. We got through it, and it was it's not already time, but it's not being able to be oh yeah, I wouldn't use it would be nice to be able to just throw on stasis, a stasis warlock for this thing or do this and that. I think they need to figure those out.
Stasis Warlock would have been really good for that Mars Battleground, for example. I think just to help control things, and it felt unviable with the change to kinetic weapons with Surge. If you're not running the subclass, you're not getting that buff in one of your weapons. Yeah. So even if you did run all the other surging weapons, you're still one of your weapons kind of feels useless. Not useless, but so much less effective. Yeah. I felt that in the Master Raids because that also carries over there, right? First time that's been in Master Raid stuff, and it's I'm running Solar Warlock in Master Raid. It's Void and Strand Surge, and I'm just running a Strand gun because otherwise my primary weapon I'm just never going to use.
Right, for sure.
stuff like that. It's just they're I just wish they were all in rotation to some extent outside of just like the seasonal playlist, where it's just where the only place you would see stasis and arc stuff so far this season.
Yeah. Definitely some adjustments to be made. And I think like them buffing some of this stuff across the board, like will kind of help with that a little bit. Like it won't help with like the weapon issue necessarily, but like having these supers be across the board a little bit stronger, even without a surge, is nice. So like that could help a little bit with that for sure. So yeah, definitely, some more updates to hear. I'm curious like where all that stuff will fall as we like get more and more into the seasons and stuff, and they try different things. But that's the ability tuning stuff. Oh boy, there's a lot there, but we're just we still got more to go, folks. Feel free to pause and get a water or get something real quick. I get it. If you haven't already, let's strap in because we got a TWAB that came out right after this, and there was a lot of information in that as well. Starting off, continuing the previewing of the seasons, they gave us a really cool piece of art, which is kind of the art, like the promo art, like they did for Season of Defiance, where it's just like a cool key art for the season, Season of the Deep. And as you can see in this, if you haven't seen it already, I'm going to put it up on the screen in the video version so you can see it in full. But it is in the TWAB as well, and I'll have the link to the TWAB as well if you want to go see like a higher res version of that as well in the TWAB they have. But as you can see, 3 amazing looking guardians with amazing looking armor, out in the water, looking into a closed off section of like some kind of underwater thing, with our friend Sloan, previously thought dead when Titan was taken back in Season of Arrivals. And also a giant fucking sea monster eyeball behind them all. Boy howdy.
We're doing it!
Yeah, we're going back to Titan. Definitely was kind of the presumed thing here, or at least like alluded to with one of the exotic quest from Lightfall. So, and I think we definitely talked about it in a previous episode, kind of trying to predict what we're going with these seasons. And yes, very excited to be going back to Titan in some shape or form. Definitely curious how that, we don't know fully, because again, it's just this piece of art. We don't know what the full extent of that is. If Titan is just back period, if it is just going to be like, maybe small sections of Titan are going to be like some activity we go to and do. Or is it just going to be back, and maybe everybody's favorite Strike Savathun song will be back, and then we can run that again in the Grandmaster, baby? Or it'll be Savathun song 2.0. Everybody's will be stoked for that,
even
right?
Worse. And there's a giant sea monster, I guess.
And there's a giant sea monster. I didn't realize this was a thing until I saw a lot of people bringing this up. Apparently, there was some kind of I guess like it was like some meme that they put. Yeah, it was they called him the long boy in the soup somewhere. Yeah. I forget exactly.
Been a giant worm under the ocean of Titan forever. And you can see it in one of the areas in like the under area of Titan.
Yeah, it was in the Savathun song Strike. You can see it, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know if this is the same creature. I assume so. It would be weird if it wasn't.
For sure.
But yeah, enemy of the witness is on Titan. That was the message we got. Is it Sloan, or is it this giant Leviathan?
Is it this giant Leviathan? We don't know what's going on with that exactly. It was. I definitely think it's cool to see here, because like I think there was also like some speculation at some point that was like some kind of hive worm or some other weird thing. But clearly, looking at this eyeball, it does not seem to be of hive. It seems to be something else entirely, which is very interesting and cool.
Seems potentially of the light.
Of the light, yeah.
Looking at things in the eye.
The eyeball definitely looks like that. Reminds me of that art that was on Yamuna. I don't know if that's connected in any way, but it could be could not be. It's also just a giant eyeball, so there's only so much ways a
I
giant
can't wait
eyeball
to
could
see
look.
that thing in game. Like, what is this gonna look like?
Yeah, how do we interact with this thing? Are we going to be in the water with it? Because
that sounds very scary.
Yeah, that's kind of terrifying if that's the case. I don't know how I'd feel about that, but I guess we'll see.
That gives me heebie-jeebies. It might be friendly. It might not be. Who knows? Maybe we have to earn its respect. Who knows?
Earn its trust or whatever. But clearly, also in this another big portion of this is Sloane. We can see Sloane from the back here. And if you kind of zoom in on her, you can see on her arms, she is either part taken or being takenified here, or maybe she's gotten taken powers from whatever the events of, Mars or Titan being taken by the pyramid ship. Because we did learn that, when the planets were taken, that was essentially like the power of the Taken was used to essentially do that. So they were quote unquote taken. So that was definitely a big thing I wanted to learn more about when Witch Queen happened, right? Because we got Mars back, and you had these sections of Mars that were literally time distorted, and were showing past parts of Mars just hanging out. You had cornfields and ruined cities and stuff, and what was causing that? They never really explained any of this stuff,
and we still don't know.
Fascinating.
We still don't know if Savathun brought Mars back or if the Witness let Mars come back.
Right.
Yeah. So we might get answers on this here.
That's definitely what I'm hoping for from this season, as we get answers about some of that stuff of how that happened, or exactly what happened, what this effects has on a planet. Granted, Titan was just a big water planet, methane ocean or whatever. So who knows? That could probably be different compared to what happened to a Mars. So a lot of questions rising up from this. Great tease. I'm happy they are continuing to do this, because that was definitely my gripe a little bit of last year's before it was having this we know nothing kind of, and then we have to wait till the very day of to learn at least just a piecemeal thing, and then at the end of the day it was fine, and we got our seasons, and they're all good seasons generally, but I like having the build up. The build up's fun. Having this little moment to speculate, just enough of a morsel to speculate what any of this is.
This is fun. Seeing this image and just knowing Sloane is alive and something happened to her, knowing that we're going to get the coolest fucking underwater armor set you've ever seen.
Holy shit, the armor is so cool.
That we're going back to Titan, which we hoped, and we thought it seemed pretty sure, but it's good to have that some level we're going there. It's in some way, shape, or form. And even the cherry on top is that this long-standing D2 mystery. We might get some answers to what the Leviathan on Titan was all about.
What is this creature doing here? What is its purpose?
How can it help us fight the Witness?
Yeah, apparently.
What the fuck is it gonna do?
Yeah, what the hell is it gonna do? What does that even mean? A lot of gameplay, things I brought up again, this, are we just gonna have Titan back in the game period as a destination? Or is it just going to be maybe it's just a haunted, seasonal haunted thing where the Titan's back briefly, and the whatchamacallit was Leviathan.
Leviathan,
and we can run around it and see what's changed about it. But then maybe there'll be more there. I'm hoping for the former. I'm hoping Titan stays around in some shape or form. Even if they have to maybe it just might end up being whatever the dungeon is. Maybe the dungeon we get this season is a Titan dungeon going on there.
Even still, thinking about it, doing the heist battleground on Mars, it's man, it's just nice to have this place back.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, just have these environments that that were cool from Destiny 2 that got vaulted, and now they're back, and having them in some shape or form is good enough for me. So I hope that's always the hope, is seeing Titan back, which was arguably my favorite area of base Destiny 2, now back, and I'm hoping getting to see more of it, potentially areas we didn't see maybe in vanilla D2, but also maybe getting some of those previous areas back updated with whatever happened to them on the planet could be really cool.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see. We're not that far away from the season coming out. So we'll get some more details soon.
Plenty stuff to do in the meantime. So.
Plenty of stuff to do in the meantime. There's a big kingdom to go to for sure. But yeah, more that just wasn't all that was here in this TWAB, because boy, this TWAB was a beefy one as well. They gave us the details on the 3 new aspects we are getting for Strand.
Fully confirmed my theory that Strand was made for the hunter. 100%. Absolutely. 100%. I'm glad they gave it to everybody else, but I'm just saying this hunter aspect is like the coolest. It's exactly what you predicted too.
Yeah.
So cool.
I wanted some kind of like either decoy or after image thing that would like fight with you. Like, this doesn't seem to be full on fighting with you, but this just seems to be a decoy. I actually, honestly, out of the 3 of these, like the hunter one does sound, I'm probably going to mess around with the hunter one for sure. But I actually really like the warlock one as well. I think the warlock one has a lot of potential, just as somebody who I did not do the typical suspendy builds that a lot of people did for warlocks. Is like I've been doing a grapple Karnstein build on my warlock that's been super fun with like the triple melees and the grapple melee, and just being able to like survive way longer because of that. But you can make tangles super easy with that setup, and I think in general like warlock's pretty easy to make tangles with. So now having this aspect that'll let me already feed back into that by making a bunch of tangles and like making these super sentient tangles or whatever. Could be super fun. But let's get actually into it and talk these through. So first up, let's talk about the hunter one. It's Threaded Spectre. Activating your class ability to leave behind a decoy woven from strand matter that draws the attention of nearby combatants. Yeah, this is cool. I was hoping there would be some kind of like, the ninja. There's like a ninja-y like stealthy vibe to the hunter's whole like idea and like play style to that that I like. So this makes a ton of sense to give him some kind of cool decoy thing.
Free, like literally free exotic, free Bungie. Just have it so that when you do this, you go invisible as well, and it is like you're set. Yeah, you got it.
You're set. Or you can like leaving it out, and like when it I think a fun thing would be like leaving it out. It like pulses like the Titan thing does and gives people woven mail.
Ooh, that'd be sick too.
That'd be fun. There's a lot of potentials for this one as well. Also, on top of it is basically it'll after it takes a certain amount of damage, it then detonates, dealing damage in radius, but also making threadlings from the decoy to then seek out and attack targets.
Good touch.
That's a good touch. Like I actually really appreciate something, and I hope it's like something that in the future when we maybe get more fragments for other classes is like they've kind of lightened the like these classes are very specific to these things with Strand in a way that I appreciate, because like this is straight just giving hunters more threadlings abilities, and like across the board like these aspects are about giving each class like more access to a verb, which where I feel like a lot of the previous thoughts with these subclasses were one class was kind of very focused on building into like the one verb, right? Where now I feel like it has opened up a lot more with this Strand stuff, and I like that. And I hope that's more of a thing they do with each class. It's definitely, I think Stasis being the earliest rendition of that, I think you feel that the most on, but for me personally at least, where I think like having more access to other things on Stasis would be nice.
Yeah, agreed.
But basically, let's see. Anything else in these?
2 threadlings. That's what it makes. It's not 3. It's 2. I love the idea of Hippie wrote this TWAB. It's like 2 threadlings in a trench coat dressed as a hunter. It's a very funny image.
Yeah, that is amazing. This sounds super fun. I don't know how much it'll be useful in something like PvP, But I honestly, obviously, I don't really give a shit about PvP in some regards, when it comes to like cool abilities and Destiny and stuff. So like, I think like this could be. I really curious to see how useful this is in various activities.
It could be like,
super high level stuff. Can you do some like dumb bullshit where it's like a raid boss is like going wild? You just put and you have like 1 or 2 hunters with this. They just put decoys and confuse the shit out of this raid boss while you're just like doing mechanics or whatever. Like
make Rolk kick the decoy. Yeah, and in PvP, I could, if you like backed away and put the threaded specter between you and an enemy,
True,
it might absorb the shots and then explode. There could be like potential
a mini barricade for hunter.
Yeah, like a hunter shaped barricade, like for like a shotgun blast that could give you just like 1 second chance to get out of there, which is that could be useful. So there's definitely uses for it there, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'm curious also because it's activating your dodge, so it probably wouldn't be it's activate your class ability. So I'm curious if you ran. It's probably they probably won't work together. But
they will. I mean, one you do in the air, the other you do on the ground.
Well, I'm saying like, could you do like one into the other? Is what I was thinking more of like
not without 2 dodge charges.
Yeah, that you're right because it does take the charge. You're right. So that's probably how I'd make it work. And yeah, and that's my only thing is like that makes a much tougher choice for hunter because like the one hunter aspect is you have 2 grapples or two grenade charges, and then the other one is you get that dive suspend. I mean, I guess the way you could get around that is just run suspend grenades on hunter with the decoy. That could be a potent thing. But back and forth on those things there for me. I like my double grapples.
Too many good choices.
I love my double grapples. I don't know if you can get me off of double grapples for.
I get you.
Even for this really cool like decoy ability that I think is cool. All right, next up we have the Titan with Fletchet Storm. While sliding, activating your charged melee ability to leap into the air, knocking nearby targets away and dealing damage. While airborne, activate your charged melee to gain melee again, not again. Activate your charged melee again to launch a cluster of damaging, unraveling projectiles repeatedly. Activating melee will chain additional throws.
I want to know what that looks like.
Yeah. So you just like doing like, I'm assuming it's similar to like the Titan, like when you do the super like heavy attack and he does like the big blades. I'm guessing it's like a smaller version of that. That's like at least what I'm seeing in my brain. But yeah, it's hard to know for sure.
To me, it's like, you jump up and then you like slash a wave.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're like slashing and it's like 5 horizontal projectiles that then go out, or if it's like one projectile that breaks into multiple projectiles.
Yeah.
It sounds very, very cool though.
yeah. It sounds really neat. I'm not the biggest fan of slide melees in general. That's like my one thing. So I definitely have to see it in use, for sure to see how that goes. I'm not fully sold on it yet, admittedly, from seeing this. But ultimately, what is the two things right now on Titan are you have the barricade blast. And you have the woven mail. I think it's the woven mail on breaking
on tangles.
Tangles, which are both things I like a lot. So
yeah, it's tough. I like. It seems very much similar to the Warlock melee. Where you throw out a thing that unravels enemies and severs them. So I don't know. This does sound like it could. If it does damage, it could be very good.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely have to see it in action. It sounds cool, but I have to see it in action to see how useful it'll be. And our last one here, the Warlock aspect, the Wanderer, tangles you throw attached to enemies and detonate into a suspending burst. Threadlink final blows create a tangle.
That's little part B on there. That's actually very, very important.
Yeah, that's really strong. Because I thought that's what the Threadlings did with the Swarmers too, right? Or no, they did something else.
No, it's just like when you destroy a tangle, it spawns threadlings.
Okay.
Which I wonder if that will stack with this. I have to assume it will.
Yeah, so you just have like a loop of threadlings and tangles a lot more. That could be really cool. Yeah,
I think that's what they're going for, right? Is like the threadling suspends and explodes into two, or it suspends and explodes into two threadlings. That then you're headshotting enemies, and potentially with the hatchling perk, you're creating more threadlings, and just the loop keeps on going. I'm very excited to pair this with threadling grenades and mind spun invocation. I think that's going to be a really, really fun combo. And with swarmers, you're just going to have those little guys all over the battlefield, and I love that.
Yeah, and this will work even well with the build I talked about earlier with my Karnstein Warlock build, because I don't really do too much with like threadlings, but I do the grapple grenade right now with the one I have. Is it when you hit somebody with the grapple melee, it makes threadlings, but also my base melee can make threadlings pretty easily as well, or not threadlings, but the tangles. So I can usually make a lot of threadlings, even more threadlings now with this, on top of having this sentient tangle. That's what they go deeper into the discussion, like, which wasn't really clear from the description, but basically is, I'll read this here because I copied it in here. It says, when Warlock's equipped with this aspect, pick up a tangle. They weave the tangle into the Wanderer. When thrown, the Wanderer travels through the air, seeking targets, and once it finds a target, it soars towards them, latches on, and explodes into a suspending detonation that deals damage and suspends any nearby enemies. To round out the gameplay of the Wanderer, also enables threadling final blows from any source to generate a tangle. Also, it's any threadling, so it doesn't even have to be those things. It could be like a hatchling perk.
Yeah,
threadling. That's cool. That's like one thing to point out is like, it's basically they're making like a super like sentient tangle that's gonna, like, when you basically, I guess you have to just pick it up when you're a Warlock with this aspect, and once you throw it, it'll just become this like sentient one that like will like roam around and like seek out targets and try and find targets and stuff. That's really thing. Interesting.
Yeah, it's another thing where if you're running a strand squad, right? Like, have everyone like let the Warlock grab all the tangles, because it's gonna suspend everything.
Yep. It gives them that suspending without having to, I wouldn't even have to do mind spun stuff. I could just, or I guess, is mind spun the thing with the grenades, or is that something else?
That's the grenade thing.
It is the grenade thing. And then the other,
right now they have the Rift creates 3 threadlings, or deploys your perched threadlings.
Right. Okay.
And then mind spun, which is obviously you're going to have mind spun.
Yeah. So I'll probably run this in mind spun then. For sure, because that seems like a really fun combo. These all three of these sound fun. Again, they said I don't know if they've reset it in this TWAB, but I believe they said that there's like the new activity that is related to on Neomuna will give these.
This new mission with Osiris
on Neomuna that is coming with this update, or with the season. That's where you'll get these from. So that's cool. Super stoked for those. On top of all the other ability stuff we talked about, a lot of fun changes coming up in the next season. Next up, we're going to talk about some quality of life stuff. They covered a bunch of this stuff across the TWAB in different sections, and I just kind of bundled it all here under this stuff. So the first thing I have is you're going to be able to get your hands on a lot more exotic engrams this season, if you're because they're basically reducing the amount of pinnacle and powerful. I think it's mainly pinnacle drops, not powerful drops. I think is how they said it here. I'll just read how you have. Since we are not raising the pinnacle cap in season 21, the need for many pinnacle legendary rewards has dropped significantly. To help make playing in our evergreen ritual playlist more worthwhile, we are changing the reward for the basic complete activities challenges to a focusable, powerful, exotic engram. This gives most players 3 to 9 free, achievable, and deterministic weekly exotic engrams ready for focusing. So there you go. So that means if you're just, if you do your run 5 strikes or do your 3 Crucible matches. Now you're just going to get an exotic engram that you can then go take to the exotic focusing and then just like pop it and get a free exotic basically. So that's pretty cool. I think that's actually a pretty good change, really.
Yeah, I'm curious, like if that's just gonna go away in season 22. I know we're probably getting ahead of ourselves with that, but yeah, it's interesting. I wonder. I'm hoping this just helps folks catch up.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's more what this is going to be like. I think there's going to be some of this because I think there will be. I don't know if it'll be the season after this one, or if it'll be maybe it might be like one of these last 2 seasons. But I definitely think there will be some kind of like, all right, here is the new power leveling carrot on the stick system. Like clearly, I think we're going to be shifting into this system. Either I think before Final Shape or maybe with Final Shape. I kind of think they might launch it before Final Shape just so they can kind of adjust it if they need to when going into the expansion. That would be.
I would hope
that's what I would hope too. That would be my hope, right? Of like I would be fearful of like now that they've seen how Lightfall went with all the gabillion changes Lightfall had and all of its kind of mixed reception because probably they did so much at once potentially. I'm hoping they maybe like have this power leveling system like ready to go before that, and then they introduce it during a season. That way they can kind of work on it and then have it be more of a fleshed out thing in a full expansion with Final Shape. I would be okay with that, but they definitely getting ahead of ourselves with that wishful thinking there, but we'll have to see. Wait and see. But I do like. But if this ends up just being like an in the interim thing of getting extra exotics from this kiosk, I'm cool with that. Gives me a reason to like at least run those a little bit and just oh hey, I got this exotic. I can just like infuse this into the one I have. If it's a better stats, that way I can at least get them up to power or whatever if I want to do that for using them or whatever. Especially when I want to bust out my Gwisin vest or Eternal Warrior. I need to get those drops. So the next one, which this one's really cool, and they brought it up in a previous TWAB, but now they're doing it with this season. Basically, they're adding a bunch of increased exotic drop rate thing. Basically, increasing
Triumphs.
drop rate chances on the triumphs for completing them for raids and dungeons. So all the legacy stuff is getting it. So it's not just like a couple of them. It is all of them. So all the raids that don't have it, all of the dungeons that don't have it are getting that on like a selection of their triumphs. And they also said it is retroactive. So if you already completed those and haven't gotten the exotic yet, like now you can go do this stuff now and like run those raids again and have a higher chance. So that's cool.
Hell yeah. Even Last Wish. That's right.
Yeah, even Last Wish. The more recent dungeons like Duality and all, like basically all of them. And obviously the new dungeon will probably have that too, of course. Also remember, we don't know it yet, but they did say one of the raids this season will get updated perks on weapons and craftable versions of their raid weapens.
Don't we know this? Isn't it Vogue? Don't we know that?
I think we're assuming it's Vogue because it is the one that makes the most sense. But I don't think they have officially said which one it is. They've just said our raid is getting updated weapons that'll be craftable this season. But they have not specified it yet. But so it could be something else. But like Vogue seems the Vault class seems the most. Makes the most sense. And now the greatest update that was arguably in this week of Destiny news, as part of our ongoing efforts to simplify the economy of Destiny 2, it's time to say goodbye to Finest Matter Weaves and Rainmaker consumable items, aka the most useless freaking items in this game.
Get fucked.
Bye, rip bozos. I don't care. These are going good. Starting in Season 21, these items will no longer drop from any source in the game, and in any instance where players would have received a Matter Weave or a Rainmaker, they will just do the thing that those things do.
Thank God.
Cool. What it should have been for years now at this point.
Do you know how many Matter Weaves you got?
I double checked this the other day. And I do still have dim up from when I was looking up Gwisin Fest, so I can look real quick. Let's see. I have oh god, where'd they go? Wait, am I looking at the wrong thing here? Am I blinding these?
Consumables?
Okay, here they are. Okay, 467 matter weaves.
Hell yeah, 460 on me. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I have 692 rainmakers. So I'm basically set on
materials forever.
Materials are definitely glimmer for like the next couple of seasons here, so that's how I can go.
Thank God, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. This was long overdue.
I ran out of Here Always pieces this season. Yeah, I ran out
because of this stupid change. This was long overdue, in my opinion. Getting rid of these two stupid things that literally everyone in existence would forget to turn on just to like get a single drop and to like do these things. Yes, just have them naturally do these things. Cool, yeah. Great. Thank you. Great change.
Thank you, Bungie.
Then the last thing here for quality of life is they're updating a bunch of daily bounties, mainly pertaining to the Vanguard Ops ones. Basically, you know, the simplest way to put it here is most bounties that have you doing some kind of killing a thing, either like killing a specific enemy type or killing with like a certain kind of weapon, are having the amount you can kill increased, but you can do it across the entire game with these bounties now. It's not just strike playlist. It's not just like a Vanguard Ops thing. You can just kill stuff and these bounties get tracked. Here, I'll just read this verbatim while I copied and pasted in here in the doc. But basically, existing daily bounties requiring you to get a specific type of kill, grenade, headshot, or any of the special or heavy ammo weapons now require twice as many kills to complete, but can be done anywhere in the game with increased progress in Vanguard Ops or Nightfalls. If you only plan on doing these in Vanguard, you should see no change in behavior. So basically, they act the same, but you can do them in anything. So you could go grab a bunch of those Vanguard bounties right out the gate, and then just like go do seasonal stuff and get progress for them, and then go do your strikes later and get even more.
It's like this is how seasonal bounties have worked.
Yeah, forever, and they're just now making Vanguard ones do that. So that's cool.
Thank you.
Why not just go ahead and just make all bounties do this? Because then they could just do this, and then eventually, I feel like them doing this is just the stepping stone into maybe just eventually being like, yeah, fuck bounties and just getting rid of that system entirely.
I just don't know what they would put in its place. That's like
it could be tied to just doing the like stuff that's like tied to like Guardian ranks or other like, you know, whatever this new power system will be whenever that exists. Like maybe that's could be in a place where like those don't need to exist anymore. Those particular kinds of bounties and whatnot. But anyway, all good quality of life things here. You know, get your better chances at your raid exotics, dungeon exotics.
Great.
Dump your matter weaves and glimmer crap things at your local vendor.
Local Banshee.
Starting at season 21. Thank the Lord. Next up, we got we're talking some more crafting updates. Guess what? Crafting is getting even more changes and currency changes. Again, I feel like you can't have an update without hearing about crafting changes nowadays. But now the big thing we're getting next season is deep sight activation, which is basically going to be the system where it'll let you take a weapon that you can craft and turn basically any drop of it into a red border version of that weapon to extract a pattern from. So basically now there's going to be a new currency added into the game called a harmonizer. The harmonizer, as of right now, I think I'll get to it, is only a part of season pass stuff, but it'll probably be added to other stuff later. Basically, right now, for non-raid weapons, to make it a deep sight, you will have to have one harmonizer, to turn it into one. And then if it is a raid weapon, you need a harmonizer and 15 spoils of conquest. So there you go. So
and you can't do it to purchased raid weapons at the vendor. Has to be from drops. And you can only carry one harmonizer at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid.
Some stupid things. Like I get it. I get it from some perspective of like, I get they don't want the scenario where there's the sicko people who are just going to, they can literally just get 5 of these guns now and then go day one and just have like an entire set of raid weapons or whatever craftable set of weapons from a previous season and just have them all immediately. I get they want some kind of like, long-term like thing to work towards still, but like I still think this is a little too stingy for what it is. Especially when you can only apparently you're only gonna be able to get so many of these right out the gate with what is it here? I have it here. It says the deep sight harmonizer currency can be obtained from the season pass rank rewards, 3 in the free ranks and another 3 in the paid. This will be the sole source of this currency for the initial rollout of this feature. Additionally, only one harmonizer can be stored in inventory anytime. This currently does not stack. So eventually it seems like there will be other ways to get it, and you will be able to hold more, but for now, it's like, okay.
It's just like they see this as like, I have 4 of this. Let me just grab one, top it off, and get it. Yeah. But like, this should be more of a like, let me unlock a weapon that I missed. You can do that with 1 gun.
Yeah, just 1
in the whole season.
Yeah,
and then you'll have 1 extra one that is like worthless, right? Like it feels like a clear miss of what this should have been.
Yeah. I definitely think it definitely feels stingy out the gate here.
I don't normally go so hard, right?
I'm not, yeah.
Like, but this isn't it. I can already tell this is not good.
Yeah. Too stingy.
I mean, I'm excited for it to evolve and again, just like open the floodgates, let the sickos get their 1 gun that they want to have crafted. It's fucking fine.
Yeah,
like it's not gonna break the game. It's whatever.
For sure.
But yeah, this weird way to roll this out for the first time.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, and like you said, the other thing of like so like there's definitely a lot of parameters to this. Like you said, if you buy a raid weapon out of one of the chests at the end, that will not be eligible for this currency. How they determine that, I have no idea. That's kind of weird. Yeah. There will basically be if you've already done it on that specific weapon, you can't do it like multiple times. So you can't just be like, I got 1 of this pulse rifle or whatever. Let me just like use 5 of these currencies all at once to get this thing immediately. You have to get 5. You still have to get 5 different drops and use it on each one to get that done, basically.
You know what I'm using this on? The gun that I've gotten 0 red border drops of, the fucking stasis heavy waveform grenade launcher from Neomuna, as immediately the first thing I'm going to use this on, because there's just no way I'm ever going to unlock it otherwise.
Yeah, seriously. I definitely feel like a lot of people use these in particular for those Neomuna guns, because they're just like a pain to unlock. The other thing that they said is the weapons purchased from Zur and the gunsmith will support the deep set activation. So that probably is a soft confirmation that like a bunch of the older weapons from previous seasons will be like you can buy them through those vendors. I think you can already do that already. Like I know, like
you can.
Kelgarath, that solar glaive from last season, I think is on Banshee now. So that's how you will probably be able to go back and get previous ones. But if that's the case, I think they should add a lot more. You should be able to get a lot more of this currency. Just
open the floodgates.
Yeah, just because there's going to constantly, we're getting like, this season, season of the deep, we will get the seasonal weapons and the whatever the reprised raid weapons are. So we're getting 2 whole new sets of, 15 to 20 new craftable guns.
And like the dungeon weapons, there might be some craftable stuff out of there.
Potentially, yeah.
So, just like it's not a great system, but it is at least a framework that I think could work with this.
Yeah.
Put them as bounties on Ada, just like the transmog stuff. Don't have it be limited to 15.
Yeah.
Just let people get this. It's fine.
Yeah, give somebody like a system to work towards these things for sure, just to collect.
Yeah,
as you've done with a lot of other stuff in this game recently, for sure.
Yeah, don't a limit of 1 in your inventory.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, they've gotten really weird with limiting currencies in this game. I think some of it is just like there's people who are like probably in those teams who are just like very burnt by the weird sickos who have like hundreds of thousands of currencies in the other game from playing it for years. But then you have like, but then that just like makes so many other people just kind of struggle with these things and feel nickel and dimed because of that. And it's just like a weird reason to like have these drawbacks because of this like weird select few of like weird 1% people who have like hundreds of thousands of shards or whatever. Speaking of shards, another thing that is nice is they're removing the legendary shard cost from crafting weapons, or crafting crafting a weapon, or like, changing perks on and stuff, which I think is nice. That did not need to cost legendary shards. So now it'll just be glimmer and enhancement cores. And that'll be it. And I think prisms are used in that too. So it'll be like that kind of stuff.
Prisms are for enhanced perks specifically.
Right. Yeah. So cool stuff. I like that. So yeah, overall weird, more weird stuff with crafting as always. Some good, some bad.
Yeah.
Well, it'll continue to be a system they constantly change and adjust and modify.
Adept stuff in the raid though, nailed it.
Yeah,
got it. Did a great job there. I just I got my Rufus up to like level 15 thanks to the Garden Games. I got Pugilist enhanced in that first slot, and I got my barrel and mag perks that I wanted to put in there. Feeling good. That stuff is great.
Nice. So. Excellent. Good to hear. All right, so the last couple things we have here, there's a big, admittedly a pretty beefy section about trials. I'm going to be real and just say we're not going to, we're already at 2 hours plus talking about all this stuff. So I made the right choice, and when I made this doc, I super abbreviated a lot of the trials information. So look, if you're super into that stuff, go grab the link and read through some of this stuff. And I'm sure there's also plenty of other more PvP minded content creators that have already covered this stuff in a video form. Please just, you're not going to find the like, at the end of the day, even if I did like an exhaustive thing in this, I don't think you'd get a lot of big PvP takes out of either of us at the end of the day, regardless. So we're just going to quickly go over the stuff. Trials, first, it's getting some new rewards for the season. It's getting a new ship, a sparrow, a ghost, and a shader. All look pretty cool. All the, it's like gold scarabee vibe. That kind of fits with trials as usual. They did say that like the shader that's going with the season that you'll be able to unlock for going flawless is an adept shader that's normally on adept trials weapons, but now you can have it as like a shader for armor and stuff. And they're going to continue doing that for each season. So like following seasons will have previous adept trials like shaders as like things you can earn by going flawless. That's cool. I like that idea.
That is cool. Yeah.
I definitely hope they do that also with like Vanguard ones at some point. Like getting Grandmaster shaders and stuff would be really cool.
Yeah.
After that, I definitely know this, I'm sure this will be a very contentious thing once it is fully in the game, but they have decided for this season that Dominion, which is the other Trials mode they've had in Trials Lab for a while, is basically a capture point style Trials game mode, is going to be the permanent Trials game mode for this season of Trials going forward. They just said like how they worded it in this TWAB made it sound like it is just that period. Like it's not just like for this season it'll be that. It's like this is just Trials now. That could change obviously like later down the line, but that's definitely the vibe they gave off. I'm going to be real and say like I feel like there's been multiple capture style Trials things. So I don't remember exactly what Dominion is. I think it's just that like after a certain point in Trials, is it just like you're fighting and after a certain point a point opens up? Is that what this one
Dominion
is?
Is the main capture mode. So after 30 seconds have passed, the capture node will become available.
Right. Okay, yeah.
And it is only on or like it rotates every round, and it's always center map.
It's like different things. Yeah.
So
it's fine.
It's that thing about like well and bubble and how oppressive they are. I really don't know if that problem has been solved. So that's I think the concern at the moment.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. At the end of the day, personally, I'm fine with it. But whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll just see how let's see how it goes.
Especially with Bastion getting a second aspect spot. I know it's gonna be a rough first couple of weeks, y'all. Just buckle up, okay?
Yeah. They're gonna figure it out. I think I think it is worth trying this because I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing, but I like when they make something, they try and make it something different. Like I get people are very, very, it's very close to the chest with Trials as this game mode in Destiny that's been here for so long, but like, sometimes change is needed for change's sake. So I think them trying to make it more than just this 3v3 elimination kill thing. Like I think at a certain point, like, it needs the shake up, just like, look at the rest, like what they're doing with the rest of the game. Like, it's not been a perfect, but clearly they're like trying to adjust difficulty stuff. They're changing all kinds of like subclass stuff. They're changing up the game. They're making adjustments, and like it's going to be in a constant flux of adjustments. I feel like that's just going to be this game now for a little while, especially going into the final shape. And like, spoilers, they're going to keep making Destiny 2 after final shape. I think people just, we've talked about a bunch on this, and you just have to deal with it. Like, I don't think it's going to magically stop, and this game's going to be in a point where it's perfect, quote unquote. Yeah. When final shape comes out, they're still going to be making changes and updates to this game post that. In these similar ways, I think, even a year from now. So like, that's just, it's a live service game, baby. Like, you kind of have to take these things as they come.
Got to ride the wave. And this isn't in a vacuum, right? There's the matchmaking changes happening to Trials next season as well. Going away from card-based matchmaking is a big deal. Yeah. And the double mercy that you'll be able to get for first flawless that week.
Right.
There's a lot of changes happening. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as maybe some people might have jumped to the conclusion of. So
yeah,
we'll see how it shakes out.
For sure. And like we said, I think we talked about it in a previous episode. I think there's new passages, like you said, the two mercy passage now, instead of just getting one mercy match. And then there was I think there's one other that it gives you increased Trials reputation for wins and stuff, and for the amount of wins you have, you'll get even more than you would normally. And then the last thing they showed off, which I think is a cool idea, is basically it is a very special emblem for getting basically a flawless, where you literally go 7-0. You don't even get any loses. I don't think you get any. I don't even think you get eliminated, or like you go 5-0 or something in each round. Even I think is what it is. It's like you have to do a perfected thing, and if you do that, you get this cool, there's a cool looking emblem. It is a cool looking emblem. I will literally never do that, probably ever. I still haven't even gone just flawless itself. So that's that's cool that that aspirational thing is there for people.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. That's what people have been asking for. They want fun swag to show off their skills. I think this is cool.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think there are some other things that Trials thing, but that's kind of the big bullet points. I feel like. A lot of stuff that you'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure, like you said, the first couple of weeks, it's going to be... I don't think... no, they did say, that's right, I forgot the TWAB a few weeks ago, our blog talking about it, is because there's no power upgrade. I think Trials is the first week.
Yep.
Now.
GM says week 4. Yeah.
So we'll know about people liking this or not real soon. Yippee. After that stuff, there's one last thing to talk about, which definitely was also another point. Is going to be a point of contention, I think, for sure. But basically, they are increasing the silver price for buying a season, basically a season on its own. So here I'll just read as verbatim for what they have in the TWAB here. As our teams continue to invest in crafting compelling seasonal experience for the year of Lightfall, there's a heads up we wanted to give regarding a small increase in the standalone season pass price. Beginning with Season of the Deep, here's what you can expect. Season pass normally now was 1,000 silver, now it is 1,200 silver. Then the season pass plus 10 rank bundle, which was 10,000 or 2,000 silver, is now 2,200 silver. This will be the new pricing for season passes in Lightfall year for those looking to maximize the rewards with each new season, and will be evaluating new approaches to post-launch content in the year of the final shape. Pricing will remain unchanged for the Lightfall Standard Edition, which includes access to the current live season at the time of purchase, plus Lightfall and Annual Pass Edition, which includes access to Season 22 through 23. So basically, it's I think for most of us, I know me and you in particular, we're the types that like, hey, when that new expansion is announced and we can pre-order the thing, we buy the whole thing. That just gives us like the whole year of Destiny. I've done that for pretty much most of Destiny. Now that I really think about it, like I think I've done it through. I've done it all the way through, even when I wasn't a sicko and was like playing every season and like playing weekly basically, and sometimes even daily. I was just buying the full thing because it was the easiest thing to do. Granted, that's gotten more and more expensive over the years, so I understand that like more people, like there are definitely people out there who are to like look at this and be like, you're asking a lot more of this because there is a 1,000 silver purchase you can make in Destiny 2 now, and that's about $10. The next step up to that is I think $20, so it's like actually like a $10 increase, which is 2,000 silver, which is basically that's like what you would have to you basically have to buy that, or you'd have to do the 1,000 silver and the like 500 silver, so that'd be about $15 you're actually spending to like get the season now. If you're buying it through that fashion where you're just buying silver in the game and buying the season standalone.
Yeah.
So it is basically going from like more like $10 to $15 for some folks. So I can see how that's maybe a little icky because it's making you buy extra things, and it's also kind of it's I see the case for people making it seem a little how would you put it? I guess kind of manipulative in terms of like, well, if you do this now, when you buy the season, now you'll have like 300 silver left over. I think that's right, and that basically it's not enough to buy. It's not enough to buy like something. I think there might be some things that are worth this in the Eververse store.
Emotes, maybe.
Yeah, but it might be close enough to another thing that'll be like, well, I could just spend another $5-10 and get this, and then that will give me enough to go buy this thing. So like, I can see that, I can see the case for like that maybe irking some people. At the end of the day, though, like, I think the value of this stuff in like Destiny seasons in general is worth this price, a higher price. Because like I feel like the $10 it normally was on its own was you get quite a lot of stuff for that. Even though it goes away after a period of time, but I think generally like you get 8 weeks of story content. If you play it all at once, that's like a couple days worth of stuff to run through and play through. Of course, like all kinds of access to all kinds of other stuff. So yeah, it's a weird thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just checked. I was like going on the PSN store to see, because I know you get extra silver depending on which bundle you get. If you buy 1,000 silver, you get extra 100 silver. So still just not enough.
Yeah.
I think they should just add an option to either buy the season directly or buy 1,200 silver.
Yeah.
For sure. As a make good. I just think that should be an option.
Yeah. That would be nice if they did that for sure. But yeah, it won't really affect me because, like we said, I've already, whenever new Destiny stuff, I buy the full pass, and you already have access to all this stuff in the seasons going on. And like I think like there's a large group part of the community that does that already. But I definitely know that I'm sure there's some people out there who are new to Destiny and have not jumped in with Lightfall and are just like, they want to just check it out at a cheaper price. Maybe just jump in free to play and then go like, oh well, let me check out this season, and it's then they gotta spend instead of $10, they gotta spend $15. So it's like,
my friend Jacob, that's how he jumps in. He just buys it on a per season basis. He doesn't get the collector's edition because he usually jumps in late or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely weird.
Yeah. Not a fan of it, but they're figuring out monetization stuff and want to make more money or whatever. That's what a business be sometimes. But yeah. Anyway, we've been talking a lot about Destiny. We're gonna wrap this up soon here.
People don't know that we recorded another podcast before this. So.
yes, yeah. Been going for a time here, but yeah, the last thing I will say here for this TWAB, they did kind of give us a little like hint of like what the next coming up weeks are going to talk about. Where basically said we're diving into more weapon and armor changes, showing off new exotics for next season, so we'll actually get some exotics, and then they'll also give us a date for the new dungeon. That's what they said will be upcoming in the weeks here as we get into our last couple weeks here before Season of the Deep.
Yeah, I assume it's going to be that Friday, so that would be the 26th, I believe.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
I would plan around that, people, but it could be the following Friday.
Yeah, also possible for sure. But yeah, we did it. We made it through this.
We did it. This exciting stuff coming to Destiny.
Excited stuff coming to Destiny. Looking forward to the new season, even though it's still up in the air if I'll be there day one because of a certain other game we've brought up a couple of times now during this podcast. But I digress.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take an hour break. I'll do the seasonal story that day.
Sure, yeah,
and I'll make the time to do the dungeon on that first week. That blind dungeon run is always fun. But then it's like, all right, time to go to bed, Destiny. We'll come back in a couple weeks.
Yeah. See you later. Yeah, we'll be back. Yeah, for sure. I definitely thought might do a similar approach. But yes. In that case, we will probably also, I don't know if we'll be back this week with an episode, just because usually, we usually record these episodes like the Friday and Saturdays. So considering it's like, not a day after Zelda,
we're gonna be busy.
We're gonna be busy. So I think we will probably not have an episode next week, unfortunately. So sorry, y'all. Blame the Zeldaning. The Tears of the Kingdoms here. Yep, exactly. Shake your fists again. But I think we can definitely do at least one more episode right before the season launches and collect whatever else they've talked about and kind of have the last little hype check before the season starts. And then once the season actually gets going, we will try and get back on a weekly cadence with talking about new Destiny stuff, because I have story to talk about and other fun stuff to talk about. Hopefully less complaining these days in Destiny, but who knows? We'll see. We'll only wait and see. Only a few more weeks until Season of the Deep. But thanks everybody for sticking it through. I'm gonna go to bed now.
Yeah, big mood. Thank you all. We love you very much.
Yep, love you all. Have a good one. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Go Warlocks.